Chapter 454. The audience in the live stream room didn't expect Lord Island to actually open a guessing game and even directly change the room title, Katana in Hand. Game over. 1/ to kill Peppa Pig. The bullet screen in the live stream room exploded. F***CK. Lord Island. What did Peppa Pig do to you? Paige, don't know if I should say MMP. Killing 20 with a katana. Lord Island, do you think this is a knife fight? He's holding a gun. How can you win? Kill 20 or more. Can you or can't you? This is a free-point question. It was very obvious that the bullet messages had directly exploded because of Lord Island's domineering guessing game and eye-catching room title. Wong Ling scanned the bullet messages and found that, as expected, most of them were skeptical. There were even live streamers from other rooms who had run over to Daoist Guang's live stream room to drop in and publicly diss Daoist Guang for using this room title to attract viewers. But it turned out that this gimmick was really good. The number of viewers in the live broadcast room also increased under the influence of the major anchors visiting and dissing him. It soared from the original 2 million to more than 2.8 million. Among them were Lord Island's light chasers, fans of other live streamers, and even more onlookers who had joined in on the fun. In that instant, Wong Ling suddenly felt that Daoist Guang actually had the talent to be a live streamer. In just a few days, the number of viewers in the live broadcast room had stabilized at more than 2 million, and it was even approaching 3 million. The most important thing was that a large number of new viewers each day were amused by Daoist Guang's live stream and turned into light chasers. On the first day Daoist Guang started live streaming, 800,000 people had already signed up for the 10HNY Light Chaser live streamer card. And now, the number of light chasers had broken through the 1 million mark. Just as Super Chin and Dopigua had said at the time, this record had already surpassed the previous record for live streaming platforms in recent years. No new live streamer on any live streaming platform could match Daoist Guang's stats in a week. This was partly due to Daoist Guang's own luck, but of course, it was mostly due to his rapid mastery of live streaming rules. What's the first rule of live streaming? This was interaction. Interact more with the audience. Make sure to speak in a civilized manner. Make fun of some hot social issues and make up jokes. Then, on this basis, he would add live streaming elements, so that the old viewers would not feel bored, and at the same time, it would attract more and more new viewers. Daoist Guang had obviously done it. Not only that, Daoist Guang had also learned to use gimmicks to attract an audience. Although the bullet screen in the live broadcast room was now a bit dirty compared to before, there were many voices of doubt, and there were many fans of other live streamers in the live broadcast room sending all kinds of anti-hero bullet screen and war bullet screen. But Wong Ling thought that Daoist Guang wouldn't care in the slightest. After all, he was a true immortal who had cultivated his state of mind for a long time. Daoist Guang wouldn't care in the slightest even if Wong Ling openly cursed him in the live stream room, let alone doubts. After all, when the number of viewers in a live stream increased, it was inevitable that there would be haters. Actually, Wong Ling was quite worried about the personal safety of these trolls, because trolls had a very big characteristic, which was that they were tyrannical online and cowardly offline. As trolls, they couldn't attack live streamers through network cables and Wi-Fi. But as a true immortal expert, Daoist Guang could easily do this. At that moment, there was a lot of rhythmic sound in the bullet screen. Wong Ling cupped his chin in his hand as he curiously looked on among the melon spectators. Report. This live streamer is deliberately trying to attract attention. This one could be considered a good one, but Wong Ling saw even more vicious ones. According to the rules of the live broadcast platform, if a live streamer is judged to be a clickbait, he will be banned for 7 to 15 days as punishment. Everyone, disperse. This live streamer is already dead. Remember to burn incense for the deceased live streamer before you leave. Deceased live streamer. When Daoist Guang saw this bullet screen, he was instantly speechless in his heart. He realized that he actually couldn't refute it. Because in theory, he was indeed already dead. But Daoist Guang didn't ban these doubtful and even jeering bullet screen comments. This was the effect he was after. Sometimes, being doubted wasn't a bad thing. For Daoist Guang, given that he already had a certain fan base, doubtful voices would only help him expand his fan base. Daoist Guang looked at the number of viewers in the live stream room. It had been less than 5 minutes since he had changed the title. The number of people in the live stream room had already broken 3 million. This was an unprecedented growth rate. If he could convert a quarter or more of the 1 million new viewers into light chasers, Daoist Guang's goal for today's live stream would be achieved. At that moment, the 5-minute time limit for the first blue circle was up and the map began to shrink until there were only 83 people left. Daoist Guang's luck wasn't bad. Although he didn't need to run from the blue circle, he was still some distance away from the center of the safe zone. If he didn't leave now, the next time the blue circle shrank, the characters he controlled would definitely be poisoned. Furthermore, Daoist Guang had already set a goal of killing 20 or more people. If he wanted to accomplish this, he would have to start a frenzied killing spree. Of the remaining 83 people, he would have to use his katana to kill a quarter of them. Just the thought of this was very difficult. Thus, when Daoist Guang decided to officially make his move, Daoist Guang had already banned the bets. The odds were 1-200. More than 2 million people had taken part in the exciting bet. And most of them chose not to. Of course, there were also gamblers who took the risk. 200 times the odds, it was too tempting. I don't care, I, the light chaser, will support Lord Island. Bet 10,000 immortal pills. My entire fortune. I bet on Lord Island to win. Daoist Guang naturally saw this bullet message. He immediately replied indifferently, Lord Island's marksmanship may indeed need to be improved, but this old man's saber skills won't let you down. Since I've opened the bets, this old man has absolute confidence. For the rest of the live stream, please keep your eyes open and record if you want to. Don't say that I'm using a cheat when I really kill 20 or more people. If a cheat is detected, it's my loss. As soon as Daoist Guang said this, the bullet messages instantly exploded again. He was too confident. At that moment, everyone saw a colorful pinned bullet message in the live stream room. This bullet message was sent by Daoist Guang's #1 fan, has 3 days and 2 sleeps been updated. It read, the katana is a brand new melee weapon. It's currently the longest of all melee weapons, and it does a lot of damage. But the refresh rate on the map is very low, and many live streamers may not be able to find it. Everyone, be quiet and watch Lord Island's operation first. During Lord Island's live stream earlier, who present had ever seen him use a katana? Chapter 455. This high-class colorful bullet message lingered on the live stream room for a full 20 seconds before disappearing. Only the #1 fan could enjoy this treatment. Indeed, as this #1 fan had said, the katana was the latest melee weapon in this game, and it dealt extremely high damage. Apart from the head, 2 slashes would empty the HP bar. If you could aim at the head, a helmet would be useless as 1 slash would kill 1 person. Every live streamer had a different way of playing the game. For example, live streamers who were equally good at shooting in this game all used different guns. But even so, a lot of people still felt that this live streamer was a little strange. After all, this was a gun battle game, not Dragon God fighters. What was the saying again? Chopping a wire with a katana, sparks and lightning flashes. This game didn't have a mechanism to break other people's weapons. Why was this live streamer so confident? If someone sniped him from a distance, wouldn't his head be blown off with 1 shot? Although there were a lot of doubts, Daoist Guang had already achieved the effect he had expected. He nodded with satisfaction and concentrated on the screen as he turned on serious mode. The spirit concentration spell continued to work. Although the heavenly eye didn't work on the pile of data in the virtual game, Daoist Guang's eyes could now clearly scan the screen in front of him, as if the image had been broken down into individual pixels. Even if there was a barely visible black dot moving, Daoist Guang could see it. After killing someone in that poor big house on the outskirts and leaving with the medicine, Daoist Guang filled his body with energy and directly ran toward the big house that was still in the safe zone. When the people in the live stream room saw the direction Daoist Guang had chosen, they were all at a loss. It's no use even if the katana's damage is high. There's definitely someone in the city already hiding in a room to snipe you. If you go there, you'll be a live target. Lord Island is a little tough. I thought he would hide in a house to ambush someone. The one above, even if the ambusher wins in the end, he won't be able to kill 20 people. If he wants to kill more, he has to take the initiative to attack. A lot of people sang the song, Cold, in their hearts when they saw Daoist Guang's choice. In most people's eyes, this was an impossible task. Daoist Guang wasn't in the mood to pay attention to the bullet messages. He knew that before he killed his opponent, the live stream room would definitely be filled with all kinds of mocking and pessimistic predictions. But it didn't matter, as long as he held a kitchen knife, oh, no, a katana. If he killed a few more people, the doubts would naturally vanish. Of course, Daoist Guang knew that there had to be people in the big city. Moreover, there would definitely be a lot of lobs crouching at the windows of the houses and shooting from the back, so why did he choose to run in the direction of the big city? Because there were many people in the city. His ultimate goal was to kill at least 20 people. Daoist Guang sprinted forward with a calm expression. Because he was full of energy, his character moved very quickly in the game, and he was only a short distance away from the big city up ahead. But at that moment, he chose to hide behind a big tree. He heard the sound of a motorcycle. And it was very clear that the sound came from the front. Daoist Guang wasn't wearing headphones, and the sound of the game was played externally. Even during the live stream, there was still the sound of the waves nearby. But as a true immortal cultivator, even if the heavenly eye of spirit didn't have any effect on virtual games, in the end, his strong sense of hearing still came in handy. A lot of people didn't understand Daoist Guang's intentions at first, but when they saw the motorcycle coming up ahead, they instantly understood. His hearing is simply terrifying. The live streamer is live streaming on an island and he's not wearing headphones. How did he hear it? New friend, Lord Island's hearing has always been very good. An old viewer who was already a light chaser replied in a bullet message in the live stream room. The motorcycle stopped at a gas station 20 meters in front of the big tree. Daoist Guang confirmed that this person hadn't noticed him, so the moment this person got off the motorcycle and entered the gas station to search for something, he dashed forward like crazy. Audience friends. At that moment, Daoist Guang said as he dashed forward, now it's time to witness Lord Islands, this Lord Islands, receiving an express delivery. Receive an express delivery. I'm afraid it's a delivery. Shun Phone God Express, providing the nation's first-rate express delivery service. Out of the corner of his eye, Daoist Guang glanced at the bullet messages on the side, his heart as calm as an ancient well. Holding his breath, he approached the gas station little by little, lowering the sound of his footsteps as he listened for the specific location of the person inside. The person was searching the room. This was a small independent supermarket. It wasn't big, but its location wasn't very good. Next to the minimart was a small two-story building. This two-story building had been searched. The windows were intact, and the door was tightly shut. Daoist Guang instantly speculated that after this person was done searching the supermarket, he would immediately search the two-story building. Once this person slipped to the second floor with a melee weapon, the chances of him being able to kill him would be much lower. Thus, Daoist Guang immediately decided that he had to kill this person the moment he left the supermarket. He listened carefully to the person's footsteps in the supermarket as he slowly crept to the side of the supermarket door. The supermarket's windows were anti-theft, and there was no way to jump out of them. The only way to get out was through the door. Furthermore, this person was very cautious and had even closed the door. This was a great opportunity. At that moment, Daoist Guang heard footsteps start to sound inside, and they were gradually approaching the door. This person was about to come out. Almost the instant the door opened, even this player himself hadn't expected someone to actually be at the entrance to the supermarket. Furthermore, he wasn't holding a gun. He was squatting at the door with this shining katana. Digging? What kind of operation was this? It was very obvious that this person hadn't reacted at all as he trembled with the UMP9 in his hand. However, thanks to Daoist Guang's spirit concentration spell, coupled with his ability to listen to footsteps, his reaction speed was too fast. Crack! The moment the door opened, the slender and bright katana landed precisely on the person's head. An obvious system kill prompt instantly appeared in the top right corner of the screen. Player DOIE has killed player ClearLove8 with a katana headshot. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Daoist Guang smoothly achieved a double kill. Wang Ling, there was another explosion of bullet messages. 666. Lord Island is awesome. 666666. This time, it won't be a draw again, right? Lord Island's movements and thoughts are very clear. Just like before, Daoist Guang picked up all the medicine on this person. Currently, he already had 4 first aid kits, 2 energy drinks and 2 painkillers each. Staring at the player's belongings, Daoist Guang pondered for a while, then picked up the frying pan that this person had left behind. Seeing this, someone in the live stream room immediately sent a bullet message. A frying pan. It's a godly weapon. Daoist Guang smiled lightly. Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Island will show you how to catch bullets with a frying pan later. Wang Ling, audience. If he could catch a bullet like that, that would really be abnormal. At that moment, Daoist Guang swept his gaze over the live stream room and noticed that another nouveau riche had gifted him, so he hurriedly thanked him. Thank you, His Majesty the King with blood-stained sanitary pads, for the Spirit Sword Mountain. Although Daoist Guang had killed someone, Wang Ling noticed that there wasn't any joy on his face. Because the second blue circle had already refreshed, during this period of time, the number of people in the upper right corner had decreased sharply again, leaving only 67 people. Chapter 456. There were only 67 people left, but Daoist Guang still had to kill another 18 people before his mission could be considered complete. He had to seize all the time he had to slaughter like crazy in order to catch up. Wang Ling stared fixedly at the image in the live stream room. Other people didn't know Daoist Guang's true realm, but Wang Ling did. Watching a true immortal play games was really a magical experience. Perhaps it was shameful for Daoist Guang to use spells to help him play games. But Wang Ling didn't think it could be considered cheating. After all, Daoist Guang had to rely on his own ability to learn spells. After cultivating for so many years to get to where he was now, even if it was just a support spell like the Spirit Concentration spell, it would take him at least 100 years of painstaking cultivation day and night to reach the maximum level like Daoist Guang had. Moreover, in this day and age, everyone was cultivating. Who knew if other live streamers were using spells to help them play games? Speaking of cheating, there had been a lot of cases recently where live streamers had used cheats and had been turned into frame-by-frame videos. Because of this type of incident, live streaming platforms had also added their own cheat detection mechanism. If live streamers were detected to be using cheats during live streaming, they would be permanently banned from the platform. Of course, the platforms would also give excellent technical live streamers who didn't use cheats the green label. In any case, using software to cheat was already a disdainful thing to do. Masters who released solid videos would use frame-by-frame playback to restore the live streamers shooting scenes in the game, and thus capture some of the abnormally instantaneous movements. Most of the live streamers who used cheats used self-aiming cheats. As soon as the camera was turned on, the super aiming mechanism was already deployed. The muzzle would automatically lock onto body parts such as thighs, necks, and so on, when multiple people appeared in the same scene at the same time, a situation where a live streamer with cheats would suddenly and precisely move the muzzle to another enemy while shooting at one person. It might not be obvious at all during the live stream. But after a slow playback and a frame-by-frame extraction, the problem could always be seen. Wong Ling had paid attention to some solid videos. Take that famous solid video Master, Frogs Can't Beat Pheasants, as an example. It had to be said that at the very beginning, he had indeed been full of a sense of justice. However, later on, these so-called real videos began to deteriorate and became commercial tools between live streaming platforms. Spend some money to hire someone to make a video hammer against a big streamer on a certain platform, and perhaps use the anti-cheat momentum to easily take down the opponent. So, after that, a so-called real-life video made a joke of 1 frame per second. It was one thing to ask for a hammer. However, the one who hammered the person wasn't professional. This was a big problem. After killing the second person, replenishing his medical supplies and obtaining a new frying pan, Daoist Guang simply got on the motorcycle which the player had driven to the gas station earlier and sped off in the direction of the city. Daoist Guang's rank was the so-called fish pond round. Apart from some live streamers who wanted to watch live streams and cheats, the marksmanship of the passers-by was pretty much the same. When riding a motorcycle at high speed, it was actually very difficult to hit it. The noise made by the motorcycles was bound to attract the attention of many people in the city. And this was exactly what Daoist Guang wanted. In a situation where he had to get rid of enough opponents but couldn't find anyone, this was a shortcut. Daoist Guang's idea was that it would be best if someone could shoot him a few times first, then he could analyze the opponent's position based on the sound and trajectory of the bullets, and then retaliate. Just as Daoist Guang was thinking this, there was the crisp sound of a gunshot. Considering that his live stream environment was a little noisy, Daoist Guang had already turned up the game sound effects to the maximum, so the sound of a sniper rifle was very obvious. Many viewers in the live stream room could hear it. There's a sniper rifle. Lord Island, be careful. Looks like an SKS. Or the kind that doesn't hold its breath. It's over. Lord Island is going to die. GG. Daoist Guang found a house in a corner of the city to use as cover and stopped the motorcycle. While that person had been shooting at him with a sniper rifle, Daoist Guang had already followed the sound and locked onto the position. On the screen, Daoist Guang's character was hiding behind a wall with half his head sticking out slightly, and his field of view was stuck on a tall tower not far away. In the live stream room, a lot of viewers with good eyesight followed Daoist Guang's point of view to see the small black dot on the top of the tower. There were immediately cries of alarm in the bullet messages. What the hell? How did he find it? Lord Island is awesome. He can instantly determine the trajectory of the bullets even on a motorcycle. Ah. Where is it? Why can't I see it? The one above, are you blind? Sparks flew from the muzzle of the person in the tower just now. Daoist Guang didn't have time to pay attention to these bullet messages, but was observing the person in the tower. If he wanted to carry out a massacre in this city, this sniper was a huge hidden danger, and he had to get rid of him as soon as possible. This person's position wasn't far from him. The point was that since Daoist Guang had noticed this person, it was obvious that he had also noticed Daoist Guang. At a relatively close distance, after determining the enemy's general position, it was really too easy to look for him with a powerful scope. The best proof of this was that when Daoist Guang had blocked off his line of sight, he had deliberately revealed half his body, and that person had shot him with a bayou. But this shot didn't hit him, and instead hit the wall of the building in front of Daoist Guang, leaving behind a very obvious bullet hole. Seeing this, Wang Ling couldn't help complaining. When all was said and done, this was a fish pond game. His marksmanship was too crooked. He was simply a master of body aiming, he was almost catching up to Jiang Bai. Daoist Guang couldn't help sighing in his heart. This little brother's marksmanship wasn't good enough. But that was exactly what he wanted. You dare hit me. Daoist Guang smiled calmly in his heart as he stuck behind the wall. He straightaway swapped the katana in his hand for a frying pan and quickly approached the tower. Everyone in the live stream room was stunned at this scene. Even the person in the tower was stupefied. Daoist Guang had shot him a few times just now, there was no way this person wouldn't know that there was a sniper in his direction. Furthermore, a normal person would usually find a suitable position to circle around him even if they wanted to get close to him and kill him, which would increase the chances of success. Who would directly charge over with a frying pan in hand when they knew there was a sniper in front of them? The player with the ID, Galagaki, on the tower was stupefied. Very quickly, he came back to his senses. Lying prone on the ground, he scoped in at Daoist Guang and pulled the trigger of his sniper rifle. I'm sorry, brother, I'll accept your express delivery box. Bang! One shot. This time, he had hit the target. However, this player wasn't the least bit happy. This was because he had accurately hit the frying pan with this shot. How? Because everything had happened in a split second, the player hadn't been able to clearly see what had happened. He had only seen sparks fly from the frying pan in Daoist Guang's hand. It couldn't be such a coincidence, right? Had it hit the frying pan? In the tower, the player took a deep breath, bang. Another shot. This time, the player paid special attention. Very good, he had hit the frying pan again. Or, to be more precise, it was this person who had been charging at him who had waved the frying pan in his hand to block his sniper rifle bullet. Chapter 457. If the first time he had used a frying pan to block a bullet was a coincidence, then this was the second time. Even if it was a coincidence, could it happen twice in a row? But it wasn't impossible to use a frying pan to block bullets. Sometimes, you could even wave a frying pan to send a grenade flying back at you. However, this sort of thing could basically only appear in funny game videos, and could only be done by a few people teaming up to try it out countless times. Otherwise, most of the time, it was a fake. But at this distance, Daoist Guang had used a frying pan to send 2 sniper rifle bullets flying. If it wasn't a cheat, then this reaction was really too heaven-defying. In the bullet messages, in addition to the many brainless, light chasers, spamming, 666, and shouting, awesome, there were even more and more voices of doubt. This is a cheat, isn't it? Waving a frying pan to block bullets, and twice. Lord Island's initial position was as an outdoor all-around entertainment live streamer. He only streams games for 3 hours a day, he wouldn't use a cheat. A light chaser defended Daoist Guang in a bullet message. Does anyone know a super administrator? I strongly request that a super administrator check the room. Now that the anti-cheat system is so advanced, we'll know if there's a cheat once we test it. Yes. I strongly agree. Let the super administrator check it. Agree. If there's no cheat, I'll immediately turn into a light chaser. I'll give the live streamer 10 immortal boats. What? My live streamer is awesome. If you can do it, then go ahead. If you can't, can you stop complaining? Our Lord Island doesn't need to hold his breath to run 10,000 meters to take your head with a katana. Enough. Can those anti-hero haters and trolls stop and let us watch the live stream properly? Do you want to destroy the National Film Academy? Wang Ling. Somehow, Wang Ling felt that the last sentence sounded a little familiar. In the bullet messages, the calls for a check on the cheat grew louder and louder. After all, he had survived until now with a katana, successfully killed 2 people, and then used a frying pan to block 2 sniper rifle bullets in succession. From an outsider's perspective, no matter how they looked at it, it looked like the work of an immortal. Coupled with Lord Island's amazing hearing, ability to instantly lock onto a target's position, and superb reaction speed, when these details were added together, the suspicion of using a cheat was even greater. Most of the time, when a person did something that others couldn't do, the possibility of being suspected of being a cheat was very high. The most important thing was that Daoist Guang had been in the limelight too much in the last 2 days. A tall tree caught the wind was another factor. Every time Daoist Guang started a live stream, a large number of viewers from other live streamers' live stream rooms would flock to his room. For example, Wang Ling felt that there were 3 types of bullet messages in the live stream room that were trying to set the pace, provoke a war, and even play the role of a villain. The first type was the fake reviewers. They might have been hired by other hosts or other platforms. The second type would be the fans of the host deliberately causing trouble. As for the third type, they were the type of people who didn't understand the situation at all and just followed the crowd, but since Daoist Guang was in this line of work, it was impossible to avoid these 3 types of people. The waters in any industry were deep, and the live stream industry was no exception. Furthermore, even if it could be clarified whether someone was a cheat or not, only a small number of people would believe it, and most people would still think that their judgment was correct. Daoist Guang's heart was as clear as a mirror. He was well aware that even if the super administrators came, they wouldn't be able to find anything, so he continued to play the game with a calm expression on his face. Now wasn't the time to pay attention to these unreasonable bullet messages. He needed to concentrate on dealing with the player in the tower in front of him. But after Lord Island switched the frying pan back to the katana, this little brother Galigaki in the tower was blank again. Only then did he realize, the person in front of him didn't have a gun. He didn't even have a pistol. Apart from a backpack, a helmet, and a bulletproof vest, the only other equipment that could be seen on him was the katana and the frying pan. Off the screen, little brother Galigaki had a black question mark on his face. That said, what on earth did this person want? Did he really want to cut him with the katana? This didn't make sense at all. Now, little brother Galigaki finally realized that this Doi wasn't a normal person at all. At that moment, little brother Galigaki finally realized the benefit of a shotgun. If he had a shotgun in his hand now, this Doi wouldn't be able to defend himself even if he had a frying pan. But in this case, in the middle of the game, very few people would carry a shotgun on them, unless they were really poor people who picked up trash along the way. A rifle plus a sniper rifle was the standard equipment for the vast majority of players. Seeing that Daoist Guang was already charging at him with the katana, little brother Galigaki panicked and switched his SKS sniper rifle to an M16A4. As long as he was accurate enough, 1 round would be enough to kill him. However, Daoist Guang's attack was more ferocious than he had imagined. This was an active attack from the bottom of the tower. Little brother Galigaki stood on the tower in an absolutely advantageous position. But at that moment, he was already beginning to doubt his life. He, who was in an advantageous position, was instead like a lamb at a disadvantage waiting to be harvested. As Daoist Guang drew closer and closer, little brother Galigaki held his breath and aimed at the entrance to the corridor. Like the vast majority of players, little brother Galigaki had already practiced countless times in his mind how to kill Daoist Guang with a rifle headshot. Holding his breath, he aimed the muzzle of the black rifle at a bend in the corridor. As long as Daoist Guang dared show his head, he would immediately start firing wildly. At the same time, Wang Ling also noticed that the bullet messages in the live stream room seemed to have become a lot thinner. Everyone knew that the 2 of them were about to meet. Given Daoist Guang's disadvantageous position, how to use the katana to kill this little brother Galagaki was now the most important thing to watch. At that moment, Wang Ling couldn't help looking at the number of viewers in the live stream. Number 398 million. Because some people had deliberately started a war in the bullet messages just now, a lot of people had automatically shared Daoist Guang's live stream room in their chat groups, WeChat spaces, Tiba, and so on. Watching melons was always an indispensable attribute of netizens, which directly led to the explosive increase in the number of people in the live stream room. At that moment, Daoist Guang was standing at the last bend in the corridor, deliberately blocking his line of sight and revealing the katana in his hand. Little brother Galagaki was nervous and couldn't help shifting his feet as he tried to get a better shooting angle. However, it was this slight movement that Daoist Guang caught. After confirming little brother Galagaki's position, Daoist Guang charged forward without hesitation with the katana. F***K. Little brother Galagaki's face turned pale with fright at Daoist Guang's ferocious aura, and he fired at the figure with a d-d-d-d sound. Bullets flew out from the rifle, but Daoist Guang's body seemed to only sway for a moment before the bullets brushed past him. What the hell? Z-shake. Little brother Galagaki couldn't help crying out in alarm. Since this young man had turned on the public voice chat, everyone in the live streaming channel heard his shout, "Audience, Wang Ling. What F*** King Z-shake?" Chapter 458. The Z-shake was an absolutely detailed micro-operation, and the way to use it was recorded in Team Tactician God Ye's Guide to Glory. A lot of people knew about it, but very few people had mastered it. Move left and right to avoid damage with a tiny movement of the mouse in the blink of an eye. But because this operation was really too fast, as if it had been completed in an instant, it didn't look like a movement to outsiders, but a shake. Little brother Galagaki really panicked, and in the blink of an eye, even the bullet messages fell silent. A few seconds later, a large wave of bullet messages surged in, and the voices of doubt began to lessen as a lot of people sent gifts. As Daoist Guang's fans, the Light Chasers were extremely proud. 666. Lord Island is awesome. Looks like the katana really is something. Lord Island is awesome. Many professional FPS players might not be able to master this kind of body technique. Those of you who are questioning Lord Island's use of cheats, let me ask you, are there still cheats for body techniques nowadays? The Light Chaser's powerful and resonant greetings left the other fans of live streamers who had come to cause trouble at a loss. Because this was indeed the case. Most operations nowadays were simple and crude, and it wasn't necessarily possible to design a cheat for this kind of micro-operation. Needless to say, anyone who could master this kind of micro-operation was definitely a talent. Relying on the smallest of instantaneous jumps to the left and right to avoid damage, the precision of this operation left people speechless. At that moment, as Daoist Guang's #1 fan, has 3 days and 2 sleeps been updated, used his special privilege to send a high-level pinned bullet message. It read, "I've already sent a private message to the super administrator, and he'll come over to test it right away. I don't know how many water armies and anti-fans there are in the bullet messages, but I hope you can fulfill your promise. If Lord Island is found to be innocent, please send me your gifts. Otherwise, I'll directly find a super administrator in the future and ban every single one of these bullet messages I see." These words were spoken in a domineering and intimidating manner. Brother Sleep is awesome. Damn. Brother Sleep actually has a super administrator's contact information. Who on earth is this person? For a moment, a lot of people were discussing this in the bullet messages. The live stream platform never lacked rich people, and this brother Jew was obviously one of them. To be able to stand out among millions of people and become the #1 fan, not only was he generous, but more importantly, he was able to contact the super administrator of the website. This was enough to prove that this person's identity was not ordinary. It was very likely that he was a boss-level figure, and he might have cooperated with the live broadcast platform. Someone took a screenshot of Brother Jew in the live stream and sent it to the chat group of the Guild of Honest Men. Who is this? Has 3 days and 2 sleeps been updated? 3 days and 2 sleeps. Could it be that web novelist 3 days and 2 sleeps? Holy shit. 3 days and 2 sleeps. Someone was startled. This was an existence that could keep pace with Wong Situ. Don't be so flustered. I don't think so. As far as I know, this author doesn't do proper work every day, and he's used to live streaming games on Bilibili. There was a huge group of people urging for updates. They would do anything but not update. There are so many fans watching, how would they have the time to watch a live broadcast? Agreed. It's one thing to watch a live broadcast, but the problem is that he gave so many gifts to a new live streamer. If his wife found out, I'm afraid she'd break his legs. What? 3 days and 2 sleeps got married. When did that happen? Why didn't I know about it? You're a village networker. He already has a child. Do you know why there are so many stay-at-home dad novels recently? It said that it's all written by an expert hired by this 3 days and 2 sleeps. Saying that, this person sent a funny emoji. As they discussed this in the group, they couldn't help wanting to enter this live stream room to take a look. Moreover, this matter continued to ferment, and at the same time, it was widely spread on the internet. The number of viewers in Daoist Guang's live stream room had suddenly increased from almost 4 million to more than 4,800,000 at the same time. People really couldn't understand this surge in numbers. Spectators were adding fuel to the fire as well as a lot of live streamers' fans were making a ruckus, otherwise it wouldn't have reached this level. While the live stream room was bustling with activity, Daoist Guang had already slashed this Galigaki little brother with his saber, and half of his HP was gone in a flash. The little brother immediately had his character crouched down. Big bro. Please don't kill me. In that moment, Daoist Guang thought for a bit, and in the end didn't slash down a second time, because he realized that this player had already thrown away all the guns in his hands, and even the bullets on the ground. This dramatic scene undoubtedly made the game a lot more fun, and the live stream room became more and more lively. Lord Island. Don't just stand there. Hurry up and kill him. There's less than 50 people left now. Reminder, live streamer, you still have 18 people to kill. Some people couldn't help reminding him in the bullet messages, but Daoist Guang didn't look at them at all. He put the katana back in place of the frying pan and couldn't help smiling. Young man, you have a bright future ahead of you. Crouching on the ground, Galigaki little brother breathed a sigh of relief when the bright katana disappeared. Big bro, you're so awesome. Should we work together? If we're still alive in the last circle, how about we fight it out? Fight it out? No, there's no point at all. Daoist Guang shook his head and directly refused. You definitely can't beat me, Galigaki little brother. Daoist Guang, in addition to the Z shake, I can actually also do the S shake and the M shake. I've already mastered half of the 26 English letters. Are you going to fight me with your head? Galigaki little brother, saying this, Daoist Guang also crouched down. They were standing on a high vantage point, and their heads were completely hidden when they crouched down, so no one could hit them at all. Galigaki little brother didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then, big bro, tell me, what should I do? If I can follow big bro, I'll be fine with second place. Second place is so boring, isn't it? Young man, you should be more ambitious. Daoist Guang laughed. I'll let you win the chicken dinner, and I just need to kill 20 people. Aw. Then, brother expert, what do you want me to do? Very simple, you'll be bait. Bait? Understanding, this little brother immediately nodded in agreement. Deal. Bait it is. Brother expert, pick up the guns and bullets on the ground, I'm sure your marksmanship will be very accurate. Daoist Guangsked. When did I say that I was going to use a gun to fight? The little brother smiled tearfully. I say, brother expert, if you don't use a gun, you want to kill 20 people. Don't tell me you really want to use this katana to kill 20 people? Daoist Guang said matter-of-factly, that's right. The little brother, looking at the map, Daoist Guang saw that the blue circle was starting to shrink again. And the city they were crouching in just happened to be the safe zone. Very quickly, a large wave of people rushed to the city from other places. For Daoist Guang, this was a great opportunity to slaughter them all. Look at the map, we're right in the center of the safe zone, and a bunch of people will be rushing here very soon. Daoist Guang said carefully, there are less than 50 people left, and your task is to lure them out. Do a good job, brother, I'm a live streamer. More than 4 million brothers in the live stream room are watching you. The little brother, Daoist Guang, don't worry, I've already said that the whole game is my pig farm. I'll definitely make sure you win the chicken dinner. I'll stay here and don't move, you go down the tower and lure as many as you can. It's best if you can trigger the same effect as 10,000 pigs arching the tower. Chapter 459. Wang Ling stared at this #1 fan Brother Sleep's bullet message for a long time. For some reason, he felt that it was familiar, especially the tone and style of these words, which gave Wang Ling a sense of déjà vu. As Wang Ling lowered his head in deep thought, he saw the bullet messages in Daoist Guang's live stream reach a peak once again as Daoist Guang and a passerby little brother teamed up. Wang Ling had no choice but to reduce the number of bullet messages. There were already so many bullet messages in Daoist Guang's live stream that if he didn't control them, he wouldn't even be able to see the game screen. In the game, Daoist Guang and this little brother Galagaki were still crouched on the top of the tower, and neither of them moved. A moment later, the live stream viewers heard the young man exclaim, F***CK. Brother expert, you're actually a streamer. It was just that he hadn't heard the name Lord Island before. It was very obvious that this was a new live streamer. Little brother Galagaki was a person who liked to watch live broadcasts. If it was a veteran streamer, there was no way he wouldn't know. Of course, he didn't mean to discriminate against newcomers. Because he felt that a newbie streamer that he had never heard of could actually perform such a level of maneuvering, it was really terrifying. As expected. The rookies these days were all monsters. Then, the young man looked at the number of viewers in the live stream and was shocked. He felt like he was suffocating, nearly 5 million viewers. A newbie anchor, how did he do it? In the live stream room, a row of bullet screens floated past. Congratulations on being on TV. Heh heh heh, little brother came to check the room. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Isn't it exciting? Little brother, you can do it. Lord Island will take you to win chicken dinner. Steady. You can win. At this moment, the young man chose to temporarily turn off the bullet screen that was blocking the live broadcast. He took a look at the face of the expert bro, who was blocked by the dense bullet screen. He had thought that the person who could perform such precise maneuvers would be a young man. But he never expected that the person sitting in front of the screen was an old grandpa with white hair and beard. As a grandfatherly streamer, his voice was too young. Too magnetic. It sounded too good. Voice was never a hard requirement for a host, but it was a bonus, especially for those who were fans of voices. A good voice could indeed attract fans. Thus, Daoist Guang's voice had been tampered with. This wasn't a voice changer, but a large-scale beautifying sound wave spell that could automatically generate Daoist Guang's voice in combination with the audience's imagination. In other words, there were nearly 5 million viewers in the live stream room, and each of them heard Daoist Guang's voice differently. Wang Ling had noticed this from the very beginning. After all, it was too easy for a true immortal to cast a spell of this level. But this kind of beautifying sound wave technique was completely ineffective against Wang Ling, and what he was hearing now was still Daoist Guang's original voice. It was deep, yet it didn't lose the vicissitudes of life. The young man calmed himself down. It was still game time, so he did not stay in the live broadcast room for too long. He quickly turned off his phone and focused his attention on the game in front of him. The huge popularity of the live broadcast just now made this little brother Galegaki's heart tremble to this day, a live broadcast with 5 million viewers. Everyone was looking at him. The little brother's heart was beating so fast that he couldn't even speak fluently. "Brother, expert, how long have you been live streaming?" "Daoist Guang, less than a week." The little brother sucked in a breath. "Then you're a sock puppet, Daoist Guang, sock puppet. What does that mean?" As an old man who was several thousand years old and had been dead for some time, as well as someone who had only recently come into contact with the internet, Daoist Guang wasn't very clear about a lot of online terms. The little brother sweated and explained to Daoist Guang, "Sock puppet means a smurf." Daoist Guang, "Oh, I'm not. I'm really just a newbie." The little brother, Daoist Guang, "By the way, doesn't smurf also mean pea?" Pfft. The little brother laughed. Wang Ling couldn't help taking a look at the bullet messages. Sure enough, a bunch of troublemakers were already frantically spamming, "Huaxiu Nation's culture is extensive and profound." Little brother Galigaki now suddenly understood a little why a new live streamer like Daoist Guang was so popular. Not only was he witty and humorous, his skills were also good. To be able to find something different in this kind of gun battle game from other live streamers, to kill 20 people with just a katana, this was a great gimmick. The most important thing was that he was actually a grandfather with a very nice voice. If he hadn't seen the live stream room, little brother Galigaki would have really thought that this Doye was a youngster. It was over. The little brother realized that he had already completely turned into a fan. Nowadays, live streamers who were both talented and good at operating and had a nice voice were really few and far between. The little brother decided that after he was done with this round, he would immediately follow the live stream room. Thus, in order to leave an impression on Lord Island, he had to perform well. Thinking this, little brother Galigaki took a deep breath. "Lord Island, what do we do now?" "I'm at your command." The little brother had already picked up the equipment that had been thrown on the ground earlier and was fully armed. Daoist Guang personally felt that the tower they were in was in a very good position. It extended in all directions and was the highest point in the city with the widest view. Furthermore, from the information on the map, Daoist Guang felt that the tower they were in was very likely the final, heavenly circle. However, no one would usually choose to set up a station here, because if someone threw a grenade up here, they would be killed straight away. But Daoist Guang wasn't afraid. However many grenades were thrown down there, he would catch them with a frying pan. Daoist Guang listened carefully, then raised the katana in his hand and pointed in one direction. He had heard footsteps. "There's someone in that direction. Be careful around the corner at the end of the alley and look for cover. Just lure people out, don't get hung up on fighting. I'll do my best to use one-wave rush." Audience, Wang Ling. What if *** King one-wave rush? Alright. The little brother nodded his head and was about to control his character to descend the tower. Daoist Guang was alarmed and called out to him. "Wait. Don't you have any potions?" The little brother paused. "Yes, I have 4 packs and drinks." Daoist Guang couldn't help laughing. "Why don't you bring your HP back to full before you leave?" "Aw. I almost forgot." Little brother Galigaki patted his head. He had been too excited just now. he had forgotten to bring his HP back to full. In the end, he had been at half HP until now. For some reason, Wang Ling inexplicably felt that Daoist Guang and this little brother were in a kind of cute contrast. Before he left, the little brother turned his head and asked Daoist Guang, "Lord Island, is my task as long as I lure people out?" Daoist Guang nodded. "That's right, then do your best to protect yourself before you come back to the tower to find me." "All right. It's just luring people out. Leave it to me, Lord Island, this is what I used to do." The little brother rushed out in high spirits. Wang Ling and Daoist Guang were both blank. This was what he used to do. As soon as he left, the little brother straightaway fired a gun into the air as he shouted, "Come, come, come, take a look and learn about swimming and fitness, Daoist Guang, Wang Ling." Chapter 460. Following little brother Galegaki's professional gym promotion cry, the bullet messages in the live stream room instantly burst out in laughter and were exceptionally happy. Is this little brother a fitness instructor? Not necessarily. It's possible that he has part-time experience distributing leaflets before. For a moment, a lot of people couldn't help guessing this little brother's identity. Based on what he had just seen, this little brother's marksmanship could be said to be pretty good, so much so that Wang Ling felt that he could be compared to Jiang Bai, the son of the head of kitchen knife sect at school, in terms of how many sides he aimed at when he shot an arrow. However, this passerby little brother was very entertaining, and had a funny nature to it. He might be a noob, but being able to entertain the audience in games was number one. It was just like how game live streamers were divided into entertainment live streamers and professional live streamers. Thus, it was common to see a lot of two-player live stream rooms on many live streaming platforms nowadays. Usually, the division of labor between two live streamers was very clear. One was in charge of technical skills, and the other was in charge of being funny. Based on this foundation, a lot of people instantly felt that Lord Island and this little brother Galegaki's attributes were quite compatible. Lord Island, Lord Island. Do you want to try and win chicken dinner with this little brother Galegaki in the future? This little brother is stupid and adorable, I think it's possible. I think it's totally okay. Let's win first. There were a lot of people making a ruckus in the bullet messages, but Daoist Guang ignored them. Clutching his katana, he crouched on the tower and listened to little brother Galegaki's footsteps in front of him. The footsteps of every character in the game were actually pretty much the same, and it was very hard to distinguish them when they overlapped. But Daoist Guang had seen the little brother walk in that direction, and a radar had automatically formed in his mind to mark the little brother's position. Based on the sound of his footsteps, the little brother was already quite close to that group of people. Furthermore, Daoist Guang judged that this group of people who had hurried over from another town was a temporary four-person team. Although this was a one-player mode, in order to increase their chances of winning chicken dinner in the fish pond game, a lot of people would take the initiative to form a team when they met in the first circle to work together and share equipment and resources equally. When the number of people dropped sharply to a certain limit, such as 20 people, they would then disperse and fight each other. This was actually a test of trust between people. Sometimes, some players would purposely propose to form an alliance with others in order to increase their KDA. In the end, it was not uncommon for them to stab others in the back. Daoist Guang had actually already seen the bullet messages asking him and this little brother to play as a pair in the future. To be honest, Daoist Guang thought this suggestion wasn't bad, but it still depended on this little brother's overall level. It didn't matter if he was bad, as long as he could improve. Moreover, this kind of job like sending people out to lure people only had a certain success rate in the fish pond game. After all, there were many jokers in the fish pond game. If it was placed in a high-ranking game, it would be a showdown between experts. Not to mention baiting them openly, if they dared to show their heads, they would be shot in the head. There was no need to waste time talking nonsense. The little brother had already been gone for 20 to 30 seconds, and Daoist Guang and his water friends in the live stream room were waiting for news. To be honest, while it was easy to think about it, it really wasn't guaranteed to succeed. If the little brother had been killed, Daoist Guang would have wasted so much time here and definitely wouldn't have been able to complete his target of 20 kills. But there were times when Daoist Guang preferred to trust his intuition. He hadn't chosen to kill this little brother before, and he felt that this was some kind of destiny that had been predestined by the unseen. How did the saying go? Meeting each other was fate. Fate was too wonderful for words. The number of people was dwindling to just over 40, while Daoist Guang still had 18 people to deal with. A lot of people were discussing this in the bullet messages, taking pleasure in Daoist Guang's misfortune. These people were the ones who had bet that Daoist Guang wouldn't be able to kill 20 people. In their eyes, there was basically no hope for Daoist Guang now. Although the odds were indeed a little low, in any case, it was still a profitable business. Immortal pills could be converted into money. Every 2 months, the live stream platform would open a day to convert immortal pills into HNY for viewers who needed a discount. 1 million immortal pills was equivalent to 800 HNY, which actually wasn't a lot, but there was still entertainment in it, and having fun was the most important thing. Give up, live streamer, you've already lost. I think that little brother might not come back. If the little brother as bait is killed, the live streamer will immediately be done for. A lot of people stared at the screen in the upper right corner of the game. In this circle, all the players were a little cautious, and very few people would die. If the little brother died, his ID would appear on the public screen in the upper right corner. Little brother probably won't die, right? Who knows? But I don't think it's attractive at all to get a membership for swimming and fitness. For a moment, a lot of light chasers were a little anxious. They couldn't understand why Lord Island could be so confident and still be so patient in waiting here. Given the number of people they had now, if they didn't go out and fight, forget 20, it would be pretty good if they could even kill 10 people. All the players were killing each other. In the later stages of the game, the number of players decreased in a step-by-step fashion. What an infuriating live streamer. After another 30 seconds or so, Daoist Guang and the water friends in the live stream room finally heard the little brother's familiar voice. Lord Island. Lord Island. I'm coming. As the little brother jumped and ran, a lot of bullets were fired at him from behind. He had already been shot. The water friends in the live stream room looked over from Daoist Guang's point of view, and sure enough, they saw 4 people chasing little brother Galigaki. There were cries of alarm in the bullet messages, F***K. They really lured him over. Not bad, little brother. Very quickly, the little brother had already run back to the tower in the distance. He crouched down and climbed the tower, and when he reached the middle of the tower, he lay prone on the ground to heal himself. How is it? Daoist Guang's character moved to the little brother's side to assist him. I'm low on HP. My bulletproof vest is almost gone. But luckily, I'm not dead. The little brother sweated. After all, he had run through a hail of bullets from 4 people. What about the helmet? Did it break? Asked Daoist Guang. The little brother checked his equipment. No, it's in perfect condition. The water friends in the live stream room already couldn't help ridiculing him. When all was said and done, this was a fish pond round. The bottom line was really low. No wonder these 4 people couldn't kill one of them. As it turned out, all 4 of them were Sunset Glow. There's actually 4 people. Daoist Guang had already determined the number of people from the other side's footsteps, and feigned a nervous smile in front of the screen. But very quickly, Daoist Guang's expression turned serious as he said coldly, but they all have to die. The first player had already rushed over. You're the one who promotes swimming and fitness. Come out. I know you're in the tower. I hate these damn salesmen the most. The player was about to charge up with his rifle, but just as he approached the bottom of the tower and was about to climb the steps, he saw a figure fall from the sky with a blade in his hand. Daoist Guang was too fast. This time, Lord Island didn't waste any time and directly beheaded him. The player didn't even have time to shout before he directly turned into a box. At the same time, the kill notification appeared in the top right corner of the public screen. Player Doi killed player Hero Rundakwai with a katana headshot, triple kill. Chapter 461. I recommend Teacher Ming Yu's I Might Be a False Immortal synopsis. The male protagonist, Lin, fell off the rooftop after being chased by his CRs and was rescued by an elderly immortal. The elderly immortal deceived the male protagonist into giving him a fraudulent system, and Lin enrolled in the United University of Cultivation, where he began his bizarre and fantastical cultivation career. This was a light-hearted and humorous novel, and it mainly described the male protagonist's life at the university, where he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The characters in the novel had distinct personalities, and the dialogue was humorous. There were all kinds of fascinating twists and turns, and the characters' complaints were also quite interesting. Additional notes: 1. This is definitely not a shady transaction. It is merely an in-depth discussion between Teacher Ming Yu and I on the topic of gender studies. 2. I don't wish for fellow cultivators to compare immortal kings and false immortals. Each has its own merits, and this chapter says that they should all be eliminated. 3. Sorry. I'm late again today. Chapter 462. In the end, Wang Ling didn't finish watching Daoist Guang's live stream. After all, exams were coming up, and it was important for him to prepare for them. The most important thing was that for Wang Ling, exams weren't just a simple exam, but a control game that required precise final exam results. He couldn't go too low, and he couldn't go too high either. If he went too low, the teacher wouldn't be happy, and if he went too high, Father Wang would have a heart-to-heart talk with him. He had already prepared for the Tao Talismans course, and could more or less keep his marks below the class average. Teacher Pan had never been the kind of person who gave test papers in a conventional way, and was very fond of asking questions that went beyond the syllabus. These questions were actually very simple in Wang Ling's eyes, but he couldn't answer them. Because in most cases, those who could answer questions like these were the cream of the crop in the elite class. For example, Lotus Sun and Little Peanut were outstanding elite students who were often singled out by Teacher Pan for praise. But this was too ostentatious, and Wang Ling wasn't used to it, so for the time being, Wang Ling pretended that he couldn't answer them. Actually, this kind of feeling was pretty hard to bear. It was like the neighbor's kid who had just learned the multiplication table and came to test you, and you had to smile and pretend you didn't know anything. What was most important in exams? Attitude was the most important. Of course, it wasn't just exams, it was the same for other jobs. Wang Ling remembered that a while back, a member of a top domestic MOBA game team had skipped training to pick up a girl the night before a competition. In the end, he had his head shaved off in history. 0 towers, 0 dragons, 0 kills. There had also been a very handsome fan who had specially sent a song to mock him. So no matter what, attitude was everything. Thus, after reading the revision materials for about 5 minutes, Wang Ling closed the math textbook and exercise books. He had already finished reviewing them. Looking at the clock on the wall in his room, Wang Ling couldn't help sighing in his heart. Time really passed slowly. On the other side, Daoist Guang had already logged off. Although the screen in the live stream room was black, there were actually still over 1 million people who hadn't left and were spamming 666 like crazy. It looked like everything was going as Daoist Guang had imagined. Relying on a katana, he had killed 20 people in a row, and that Galigate QI little brother had finally won the chicken dinner. A lot of people found this operation quite inconceivable. It was even more amazing than the comeback of that live streamer Glutinous Rice who had won the chicken dinner previously. Wang Ling, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Daoist Guang were the only 3 people in the group chat. After the live broadcast, Daoist Guang immediately sent several comical emojis. Hiya hiya, this time, I've gained at least 1 million more fans. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, I saw Brother Guang's live stream. You killed 20 people with your katana, and in the end, that passerby little brother won chicken according to our agreement. Brother Guang is quite powerful. Daoist Guang, but this unconventional way of eating chicken is too eye-catching, and we can't use it all the time. If it was a high-level game, no matter how accurate the Tachi was, it would still be no match for a headshot. Today's success was due to luck. These juniors are still too young. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, when the super administrator came later, he didn't detect that Brother Guang was using a cheat, but I think Brother Guang probably used some minor magic. Taoist Guang chuckled. Brother Lei is smart. This shouldn't be considered cheating, right? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, you flatter me, you're an immortal to begin with, Daoist Guang chuckled. My big plan now is to pull in more fans, and finally trick them into becoming my believers so that they can help me make figurines. That way, I might be able to successfully transcend the samsara spirit tribulation. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was startled. There's this kind of operation. Daoist Guang, this is the first time I've heard of this figurine, but it's worth a try. If I want to make figurines to replace statues with my unconventional way of transcending the tribulation, all the figurines have to be made of the same material, and I have to be very detailed. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal shook his head and said in the chat group, I think it'll be a little difficult. Exquisite figurines were now very expensive on the market, and in this day and age, they weren't just figurines, they weren't just for viewing and collection purposes. There were a lot of sky-high priced figurines on the market now, which had been personally blessed by an almighty. If they encountered an accident, such as something suddenly falling from the sky, the figurines would automatically emit a protective golden light. Currently, the highest grade of figurines cost 9.8 billion immortal gold bars, and it was said that this figurine could be used as a substitute for a person's life. That was to say, even if there was an extremely ominous divination, it could be used to avert danger. But this 9.8 billion immortal gold bars. It was likely that no one could afford this sky-high price. It was comparable to the total wealth of one of the world's top 100 corporations. Thinking this, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal couldn't help looking at the soul suppression ring on his hand. It also had the effect of averting danger, and its effect was clearly even more heaven-defying than that sky-high price blessed figurine. Taoist Guang was obviously thinking the same thing as Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal as he typed. I looked up information on figurines earlier, and I know that there's a figurine worth 9.8 billion immortal gold bars that can be used as a substitute for a person's life. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal nodded. That's right, Brother Guang. It said that this figurine was painstakingly created by tens of thousands of skilled craftsmen, and it's authentic down to every pore. Furthermore, to ensure its authenticity, a black head was specially stuffed into its nose when it was designed. Taoist Guang nodded. I can roughly guess. To make a figurine to this extent, it must have been fused with a great spell similar to the life and death exchange, but there aren't many people who can cast this kind of spell. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, could it be Immortal Jinyuan? The corners of Taoist Guang's mouth twitched. Given that Senior's naughty nature, it's really possible that he made this figurine. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, Taoist Guang, but I don't need such a high-level figurine, it's enough if it can make me more detailed. Brother Lei, do you know anyone? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal, I really don't. I'll have to ask a friend. If I really want to make a figurine, I can't just look for random people. Nowadays, those figurines made by those small workshops are all evil gods. Ha ha ha. Taoist Guang sent a teary smile emoji. Come to think of it, Brother Lay. Come to think of it, Brother Lay, why hasn't Senior Ling said anything in our 3-person chat group? I know Senior Ling has been looking for a way for me to restore my body. But since I've already decided to try using the figurine to get through the samsara spirit tribulation, I'm not in a hurry. Grenade throwing Senior Immortal, just tell me directly. Brother Ling definitely saw it, he's spying on us. Chapter 463. It was July 12th on Wednesday in the 12th week of the semester. That morning, Loopy Toad stuck the inheritance talisman to its forehead and squatted at the door to collect the spirit chi of heaven and earth to absorb the power of Sword Tao in the inheritance talisman. At this time of the morning, when the sun rose, the spirit chi was at its purest, which was very good for cultivation. Loopy Toad had only grasped roughly 5% of the inheritance talisman, but it already felt that it was stronger than before. After all, this was the power of Sword Tao that contained the 3,000 great spells. Every bit more was infinite power. After sticking to the inheritance talisman for a while, Loopy Toad felt that its head was already a little full, and it felt swollen and painful. This was a normal phenomenon when the truth of the great spells was filled in. Loopy Toad stretched out its dog paw and took off the inheritance talisman. If this happened, it wouldn't be suitable to continue receiving the inheritance, and would need to rest for a while to completely absorb the truth of the great spells before continuing. Loopy Toad was well aware that this thing couldn't be rushed, and needed to be slowly polished and absorbed bit by bit. Some people would never be able to comprehend the power of the great spells in their entire lives. Loopy Toad felt that it had nothing to complain about now that it could master one type of great spells with just one inheritance talisman. There was a limit to everything. Although it couldn't digest it all at once, it was only a matter of time. Loopy Toad gazed at the sky as it recalled its prophetic dream. It didn't know what on earth would happen to the sky-swallowing Toad clan in the future, but Elder Wen's cry for help was real. Generally speaking, prophetic dreams predicted what would happen within a month, and wouldn't be too far away. Loopy Toad was suddenly a little worried about the future of the sky-swallowing Toad clan. Although it had changed, its identity as the clan's 10th leader would never change. In the eyes of many clansmen, it was already dead. But it wasn't truly dead. Given that the sky-swallowing Toad clan was still leaderless, Loopy Toad felt that it should take on this responsibility. Loopy Toad stretched out its tender green dog paw, and sharp white nails popped out with a faint golden spirit light. This was the special effect of the aura of Sword Tao lingering around the paw. But this was clearly far from enough. Evil Sword God Sword Tao characteristic was the 10-meter sword circle, and Loopy Toad had only inherited 5% of it. To truly display the effect of the 10-meter sword circle, it would have to comprehend Sword Tao to at least 50%. Loopy Toad made a simple prediction, and felt that given its current progress in comprehension, it would take at least half a month before it could inherit 50% of the power of Sword Tao in the inheritance talisman. It didn't know if it could make it in time to deal with the calamity of the Toad clan's prophecy. Loopy Toad had its own considerations on this matter. It had thought that the worst-case scenario would be nothing more than asking Little Master Ling for help. But the problem was that Little Master Ling was about to take his midterm exams. Who would have the time to care about such a trivial matter? So after thinking it over, Loopy Toad in the end didn't ask Little Master Ling. It felt that it would naturally be best if it could handle this matter properly on its own. It was the midterm exam preparation period, and the school teachers were frantically scribbling papers as if they were on steroids. The physical education teacher, who was supposed to be the best, had become a weak and sickly target. So that morning, Teacher Pan was already in class, and she was sitting solemnly in front of the lectern as she graded the test papers from yesterday's Tao Talismans class. This was a critical period, and the first to arrive at school were usually Super Chin and Dopey Gua. These two had one thing in common, and that was that they were very partial to subjects. One was good at liberal arts, and the other at science. Furthermore, they were both at the top of the class. So it had already become a daily routine for them to come to school early to copy each other's homework and get what they needed. Wang Ling didn't know where Teacher Pan had heard this, but she had been guarding the classroom since early in the morning in order to prevent some opportunistic people from coming to school early to copy homework. So when Super Chen and Dopey Guo arrived in class that morning, they were dumbfounded. F***K. Why was old Pan here so early today? When the two of them appeared at the classroom door, their hearts were filled with shock. Teacher Pan was marking the exam papers with the expression of an old and experienced person. It could only be said that as a pioneer teacher at number 60 high school, Teacher Pan was in the end Teacher Pan. It could be said that she was very familiar with the little schemes in the students' hearts. It was obvious that there was something wrong with the way the new teachers were acting and their movements were unnatural. Teacher Pan immediately deduced that it wasn't that these two hadn't done their homework, but that they had planned to come to the classroom to copy each other's homework in the morning. In the end, they had discovered that she was in the classroom, which was why they had such surprised expressions on their faces. Sometimes, one look was all it took to know what a student was thinking. Pretending to be calm as she marked the test papers, Teacher Pan cast a sidelong glance at Super Chin and Dopey Guo. It was as if she had turned on a self-aiming hack, and the two of them trembled. Su Xiao, you don't need to collect your homework today. I'll collect all of it myself. Hurry up and put it on the lectern. Super Chin, Dopey Guo, the two of them couldn't help cursing in their hearts at the same time. It was still the F***King early morning. 4:00. Even a teacher in charge wouldn't be in the classroom until 7:00 during the morning self-study period. Super Chen and Dopey Guo instantly felt that Teacher Pan seemed a little deranged. How could there be a teacher in charge who came to school at 4:00 to mark homework? Teachers were paid according to the number of classes they had. Coming in early and finishing school late was considered voluntary work, and didn't count as wages at all. At that moment, Super Chin and Dopey Guo felt that there was absolutely no need to doubt Old Pan's professionalism. Now that Old Pan was keeping an eye on them in class, copying homework was definitely out of the question. Thus, the two of them didn't say anything as they returned to their seats and started to make up on their homework. Teacher Pan saw this scene, but didn't say anything. She pretended as if she hadn't seen anything as she marked the homework. She had seen too many students of all kinds, including those who cheated in exams. It was now an era of national cultivation, especially at this kind of critical juncture. As a Golden Core teacher, she wouldn't feel tired even if she didn't sleep or rest for more than 10 days. Forget 4:00, even if she stayed at school and didn't get off work, she still had to keep an eye on these students before the midterm exams and raise their grades as much as possible. After all, they were young and playful, and there were times when they were more mischievous. She definitely had to keep an eye on them. Thus, at that moment, Teacher Pan suddenly thought of someone. She felt that Wang Ling in class really seemed like a pretty good kid. His grades were always so-so, but in any case, he was an honest person. Chapter 464. Number 60 high school's midterm exams this time were divided into days, which meant that students would be tested on one subject a day. As for why this was being done, Headmaster Chen naturally had his own considerations as the headmaster of number 60 high school. On one hand, this was to reduce the pressure on students, and on the other hand, to give them enough time to study for the exams. Originally, a lot of students would be happy to hear about this kind of split-day exam system. Because usually, once the midterm and final exams were split-day exams, classes would be suspended from the exam. After the exams, they could go straight home. But this time, at Teacher Pan's insistence, the suspension was lifted. It could only be said that as a pioneer teacher at number 60 high school, Teacher Pan was in the end Teacher Pan. She was actually able to rely on her silver tongue to force the headmaster to accept her advice and change the suspension exam system. After this news spread, the students' resentment towards Teacher Pan instantly reached an unprecedented peak. the first and second periods were Dao Talisman's lessons, and the class was dead silent. After Teacher Pan finished her lecture, she had just left the classroom with a pile of papers when the class started to ring out, and the noise grew louder and louder until it completely exploded. Old Pan is crazy. Super Chin couldn't help complaining after class. She's indeed quite hateful, but it doesn't matter. In any case, she doesn't have anything to do when she gets back. Dopey Gua spread his hands. Not chicken dinner? Super Chin asked. What chicken dinner? As long as I don't watch Lord Island's live stream, it's fine. Did you watch Lord Island's live stream yesterday? He chopped the power lines with a katana, and there were sparks and lightning along the way. He directly killed 20 people, and in the end, a passerby little brother won chicken dinner, Dopey Gua said. Also, I heard that after the live stream, Lord Island contacted the passerby little brother and asked for his contact information, intending to play as a duo with him in the future. Super Chin couldn't help thinking. This little brother is going to be popular. Dopey Gua cupped his chin with an enigmatic expression on his face. And do you know, I suspect that this little brother is probably someone from our school. Not a suspicion, but a certainty. Little Peanut also came over and asked curiously, someone from our school. Why do you say that? Dopey Gua, you know, Lord Island streams live on the island, but it's very unfamiliar and no one recognizes it. I have an uncle who works in the telecommunications office, and out of curiosity about Lord Island and little brother, he checked their IP addresses. Super Chin, and the result? Dopey Gua, I couldn't find Lord Island's IP address. It's a very strange string of garbled code, and I don't know why this happened. As for the little brother's IP address, my uncle found out that this IP address is in our school. The IP address of that little brother Galagaki is in the school. When the other students heard this, they were shocked. Who is this little brother? Dopey Gua cupped his chin. I'm not sure at the moment, but from the name and live stream information, this person is a bit gay. Also, he seems to like working out a lot. Everyone turned to look at Super Chin. Super Chin, why are you looking at me? I'm not gay. I'm innocent. Featherland's Fujoshi's soul began to stir restlessly again. With a sinister smile on her face, she stared at Super Chin and Dopey Gua. In our class, the most Galagaki. In our class, the two of you are the most gay. F***K. Why don't you talk about Wong Ling? Don't look down on him just because he doesn't like to talk. People who don't like to talk are usually sultry on the inside. Wong Ling raised his head, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help twitching. Why was he being dissed all of a sudden? Super Chin, what's the saying? Since ancient times, sultry youngsters have always been sultry. If it's not Billy, it's gay. Everyone, Wong Ling, at the same time, in the office on the top floor of that high-class office building in the heart of the city. The lady of the castle was receiving a VIP who had come to buy information. After the incident with Immortal Mansion and Daoist Taoye Shuego sect, Mo Immortal Castle had been cheated one after another. Not only did they not have any income, they were even in a state of continuous loss. Although Mo Immortal Castle wore the guise of a private education institution, it still had a huge industrial chain, both legal and illegal. But after these two incidents, Mo Immortal Castle had practically used up all of its profits for the past 5 years, and had spent a lot of money to wipe its butt clean. So in order to continue operating the business, Mo Immortal Castle had now started to enter the intelligence business. Previously, Mo Immortal Castle had cooperated with other people by sharing intelligence and exchanging it for resources. Who knew that the big shots nowadays were each worse than the last? They might as well directly sell information to make money. In the large office, the lady of the castle sat on a sofa facing a young man in a white Daoist robe and his attendant. This young man was the client who had come to Mo Immortal Castle to buy information this time. This young man looked very young, but his skills and cultivation were unfathomable. The lady of the castle was very close to the young man, but she realized that there was no sound of him breathing at all. He was clearly a great senior. If it wasn't for the fact that the young man was now calmly sipping his tea, the lady would have thought that he was a dead man. The young man's face was almost morbidly white. She didn't know if it was because he couldn't see the light, but his attendant had been holding a black umbrella for him the whole time. Since the Lord wasn't around and the lady couldn't see through this person's specific realm, she was a little nervous. "Senior Bai, do you think my offer is appropriate? If you think it's expensive, we can actually discuss it." 500,000 immortal gold bars for accurate information was the current market price for MO Immortal Castle's information. For some special information, the price might even go as high as 1 million immortal gold bars, which was close to the price of a holy weapon. "My master just wants you to find someone, and you actually want 500,000 immortal gold bars," the servant holding the black umbrella said gloomily. "I'm very sorry, Senior Bai. This is indeed the market price." The lady blushed with shame. "Actually, there have been a lot of big clients who have come to us to buy information before." "Big clients? Can you give me an example?" Mr. Bai's lips curled up slightly as he smiled. "Like the big clients who came to us before, like Taoist Tao Tai." Although he broke the contract midway, Taoist Tao Tai. Mr. Bai's expression changed slightly. "Yes." The lady nodded and answered truthfully, "Apart from that, the old devil and the master of Immortal Mansion have also come to us to buy information before. Although they were both arrested." Chapter 465. Although the lady couldn't estimate this Senior Bai's specific strength, she was well aware of his identity. This person was currently a wanted criminal, President Bai of the Demon Hunters Association. But based on the various clues and confessions that the police currently had, none of the members of the Demon Hunters Association who had been arrested could say what President Bai looked like. Even senior members of the Demon Hunters Association like Strong Swa hadn't even seen President Bai's face. The only person who knew President Bai's true appearance was probably the servant standing next to him with the black umbrella. Even if it was just a servant, the lady felt that this person's strength wasn't inferior to hers, and was a little terrifying. When the lady mentioned the old devil and the master of Immortal Mansion, this President Bai's expression changed slightly. There were actually a lot of intelligence agencies in Songhai City, and MO Immortal Castle was one of them he had heard about. In Songhai City's intelligence network, Mo Immortal Castle's intelligence network was second to none. But seeing was believing. This abnormally pale young man indeed didn't expect Mo Immortal Castle to actually have dealings with Daoist Tao Tai, the master of Immortal Mansion and even the old devil. Information could be sold for a high price, but there were times when being expensive didn't mean it was accurate. This depended on whether this intelligence agency had the relevant transaction experience. If even the old devil had bought information, President Bai instantly felt that this information might be worth the price. "Old Liu, arrange for the transfer." President Bai raised his hand. Servant Liu was blank. "President, do you need to think it over again?" "No need." The abnormally pale young man waved his hand. "Our Demon Hunters Association has lost 2 elders this time. I'm well aware of Elder Kanglen and Elder Han's strength. I sent them to deal with a third-class dog, but in the end, there wasn't even a corpse left. Furthermore, the reason for the turmoil in the Demon Hunters Association this time was that dog. If I don't find it and stew it, it really won't be able to dispel the hatred in my heart." "All right," the old servant had no choice but to nod. For some reason, his eyelids twitched very quickly as he had a very bad feeling. Holding the black umbrella in one hand, the old servant actually extended a rattan from his lapel to take out a cell phone. He then used the rattan to directly operate on the phone. The lady was startled, because judging from the aura, this didn't seem like a wood spell. Instead, it was something that resembled a human organ. Could this person be a tree spirit? She felt that she had discovered something incredible when the old tree became a spirit and cultivated into a human form. That was because tree spirits belonged to the demon race. Although the lady of the castle had heard that some demons in human form had slipped out of the gate between worlds and mingled in the human world, this was the first time she had seen any trace of them. Most importantly, this old servant had concealed himself too well. There was not even a trace of demonic chi on him. Thinking this, the lady had some speculations about the origins of this master and servant pair. A tree spirit that could cultivate into a humanoid form had to be at least 3,000 years old. It was very likely to be an itinerant immortal. And this itinerant immortal level tree spirit was actually willing to be the servant of this sickly young man. If this abnormally pale young man wasn't the tree spirit's second uncle, then it could only prove that this young man's strength was probably above that of an itinerant immortal, and a little stronger than Taoish Tao Tai. This was a true immortal expert. All of a sudden, the lady realized that this young man might be an opportunity for Mo Immortal Castle to bounce back from its current economic depression. If she could rope in a true immortal senior like this as a backer, the lady felt that everything Mo Immortal Castle did in the future would be much more convenient. Wait, the lady suddenly said. The abnormally pale young man looked up. I can sell this information to you at a 10% discount. What do you want from me? The abnormally pale young man asked with a deep look in his eyes. As the president of the Demon Hunters Association, he had traveled the world and seen all kinds of occasions as well as all kinds of transactions. Naturally, he knew the rules of the trading center. There was never a free lunch. For a piece of information worth 500,000 immortal gold bars to suddenly be sold at a 10% discount, there had to be something behind it. This junior knows that the members of the Demon Hunters Association are now wanted by the police everywhere, and are at the cusp of the storm. Senior, as long as you can help our Mo Immortal Castle with one thing in exchange, I'll sell this information to you at a 10% discount. Then why don't you just give it to me for free and do me a favor? The abnormally pale young man laughed. The lady, because we're really poor now. The abnormally pale young man, this simple and crude reason startled the tree spirit servant surnamed Lu behind the abnormally pale young man. How about this, what do you want? Let's hear it first, the abnormally pale young man said. It's like this, senior, the reason why our Mo Immortal Castle is in this economic depression and we have no choice but to peddle information for a living is all because of one person. Although this person looks like a teenager, his realm is unfathomable. We've sent people out many times to teach him, but they've all been defeated miserably. The lady recalled that miserable experience. Our Mo Immortal Castle once employed the 10 saints, but now they've become the 7 freaks of Jiangnan, the abnormally pale young man, the lady said. Also, I suspect that it's not a big deal. The arrest of that old devil and the master of Immortal Mansion are most likely related to him. I understand. The sickly young man nodded. He had already understood. You want me to take care of this person? The lady, not bad. That's easy. The sickly pale young man coughed slightly. I'll let Elder Lu, who's behind me, take action on this matter and test the waters first. It would be best if he could get rid of it. If I can't deal with it, I'll do it myself. What do you think? Hearing this, the lady was overjoyed. If that's the case, that's great. However, that person seems a little strange. I personally think that Senior Lu might not be able to deal with him. The sickly young man chuckled. I think you should have already seen it. Elder Lu isn't an ordinary person. Even if he can't deal with that young man, he won't die. I only sent him to test the waters. This Elder Lu was obviously extremely confident in this. You can rest assured. I specialize in the wood system spell of creation and rebirth, and I have an extremely strong self-healing ability. Even if I take a blow from a true immortal, as long as a trace of ash remains, I can reconstruct my body. This junior worries too much. The lady nodded and cupped her fists at this Elder Lu. May I know Elder Lu's honorable name? You're too polite, lady. Just call me Elder Lu. My name is Sun. Chapter 466. For some reason, the lady felt that this name sounded a little familiar. After several encounters with that youngster, she was almost certain that this expert who looked like a youngster was definitely at true immortal level. Of the 10 saints whom Immortal Castle had hired previously, apart from 3rd Saint who had defected and left, Great Saint and 2nd Saint had been killed by the other party's aura backlash. To be able to kill a peak soul formation expert with a backlash, there was absolutely no need to doubt this kind of strength. But at that time, the lady's judgment had been that Wang Ling might be an itinerant immortal. After that, the incidents with the old devil and the master of Immortal Mansion had happened one after another, which gave the lady a new estimate of Wang Ling's strength. It was very clear that this was a genuine true immortal expert, and it would be very difficult for the lord of the castle to deal with him personally. To fight a true immortal, the only way was for another true immortal expert to lend a hand. At the very least, they would be evenly matched on paper, unlike the 10 saints whom they had hired previously, who had died before they could even make a move. True immortals fighting true immortals should be evenly matched in any case. They couldn't just be killed with one slap, right? The lady pondered this in her heart. She knew that the two people in front of her weren't simple, and this was a great opportunity to make friends with experts. But she didn't dare to agree immediately, because she felt that something wasn't right. She didn't know why, but she had a bad premonition. President Bai couldn't help smiling. If you're really worried, you can send that person's location to Old Lu right now, and I'll send him to take a look right away. Old Lu loosened his grip, but the black umbrella in his hand didn't fall. Instead, it floated in the air to cover President Bai on the sofa. It turned out that you didn't need to use your hands to hold up the umbrella. Seeing the lady's hesitation, Old Lu felt uncomfortable that his strength was being questioned. So he decided to demonstrate his spell of creation and rebirth to the lady now. Looking around the lady's office, he finally saw a spirit sword hanging on the wall. This wasn't just a decoration, but a holy weapon. Old Lu could recognize it at a glance. Is this sword yours, lady? Elder Lu stared at the spirit saber and stood in the same spot without moving. Another rattan extended from his lapel and took the spirit saber from afar. The lady was startled. This saber was the Wind Regret saber from the Lord's collection. Its grade was not high, only at the 8th level. However, this saber had a destructive effect, commonly known as tetanus. Once one was cut by it, the wound could hardly heal in a short period of time. The reason why it was specially bought by the castle lord as a collector's item was not only because of the special effect it contained. Most importantly, this saber was a pair of twin sabers. One was named Windwish, while the other was named Cloud Movement. These two blades were both of the wind attribute, but one was yin and the other was yang. If these two sabers could be found, the two sabers could be combined into one saber. It was rumored that it could unleash the power of a quasi-world-defying magical artifact. When the castle lord collected this saber, he thought that he could find the second saber one day. Unfortunately, the second cloud blade had already been destroyed, leaving only the broken hilt in a museum. Thus, this Windwish saber's value in the castle lord's eyes had instantly dropped a lot. But that was several hundred years ago. Now, this Windwish saber had been shelved by the lord and kept with the lady. This is the Windwish saber. Has Mr. Lu heard of it? This is our castle lord's collection. The lady replied. No wonder I thought it sounded familiar, as if I'd seen it somewhere before. Mr. Lu couldn't help raising his eyebrows, and then he couldn't help smiling. You said before that your Immortal Castle's economy is in a great slump. Since that's the case, why don't you sell this saber? Although the other cloud movement saber is already broken, this spirit saber's destructive effect is still worth a lot of money. The castle lord said that no matter how poor we are, we can't casually sell his collection. This Windwish saber has been around for a long time, and can be considered an antique. It's good to keep its value, the lady replied. Mr. Liu muttered to himself for a moment, but didn't continue to ask. In any case, he just wanted to show off a few of his skills. After some thought, he handed the Windwish saber to the lady, then pointed at his own head. Lady, please try slashing my head with this saber. The lady was stunned. This was a little too bold. An itinerant immortal, without the protection of any magical barrier, could only be completely immune to magic treasures below the level of a holy artifact. Even if this Wind of Regret saber was an 8th grade holy artifact, it was looking down on the damage of an 8th grade holy artifact. The most important thing was that this saber's destructive effect was real. Back then, the Lord had courted death himself to test it out by slashing the back of his hand. Without the aid of any medicine, even with the Lord's realm, it might take as long as 7 days for the wound to scab over completely. It's fine, lady, please go ahead and don't hold back. However, Mr. Liu was clearly extremely confident in his self-healing ability. This destructive effect might be useful for other people, but it's almost negligible for me. That's because my self-healing ability is far superior to this saber's destructive ability. Of course, if it was the destructive power of a world-defying magic weapon, I might be able to put it to good use. But in today's world, world-defying magic weapons are almost negligible. When Mr. Liu said this, President Bai also nodded and smiled. Old Liu is right. Furthermore, even if there are world-defying magic weapons, they have long been secretly protected by the state. If a country can control 1 or 2 world-defying magic weapons, they are already a strong deterrent. But these magic weapons are usually very powerful, and unless there's a war between nations, they won't be used lightly. The conversation between the two of them was straightforward, but it wasn't too vague. Of course, it wasn't just the lady who was concerned about national matters, but also Immortal Castle. Currently, Immortal Castle's intelligence service was limited to a few big cities in Huaxiu Nation, and it hadn't fully spread out yet. It hadn't even made a name for itself domestically, so it was clearly still a long way to go before it could expand internationally. Mr. Liu, you're going too far. The lady cupped her fists in salute as she gripped the Wind of Regret saber in her hand. Since Mr. Liu is so confident in himself, I'll give it a try. As soon as he said that, President Bai snapped his fingers, and the lady saw the black umbrella floating above his head abruptly expand to form an airtight barrier. This barrier is independent, it won't damage the lady's office. The sickly pale young man smiled slightly, then raised his hand. Lady, please chop with all your strength. The lady, all right, but is it really okay to use all my strength, Mr. Liu? It's fine, I'm headstrong. Chapter 467. This black umbrella had an unusual origin as it could actually form a barrier on its own. This was the lady's first time seeing a magic artifact with this attribute. Usually, multiple people had to work together to set up a barrier array. For example, during the Shuego sect incident, when Xiao Yinqing of the Xiao clan had gone berserk, many police forces had joined forces and mobilized tens of thousands of police officers to set up a barrier in the area where Xiao Yinqing had been. Of course, there were some almighties who could set up a barrier on their own, but it usually took some time to form hand seals and chant. But this small black umbrella in President Bai's hand could actually set up a barrier in an instant. This made the lady sweat a little. She could more or less guess that this black umbrella was an extremely powerful spatial magic artifact. No wonder the police hadn't been able to find this President Bai all this time. This small black umbrella in his hand was really a powerful escape weapon. Holding the Wind of Regret sword in her hand, the lady stood inside the barrier, which was very large, like a small world of its own. This was a dark space with a chaotic aura lingering around it, which showed that the origin of this small umbrella wasn't simple. "Mr. Liu, then I won't stand on ceremony." The lady greeted him, then straightaway picked up the Wind of Regret sword and started to gather spirit energy. She wasn't the Wind of Regret sword's owner, but she was directly authorized by the lord of the castle through the power of the contract, so she could control it. The moment her spirit energy poured into the Wind of Regret sword, the sword light instantly surged, and the power of a whirlwind swirled around the blade, causing a violent gale to blow in this windless space. On the side, President Bai watched this scene peacefully, feeling a little regretful in his heart. The Wind of Regret sword and the Cloud Movement sword were a pair of famous twin swords on the list of spirit swords, and each sword alone could rank in the top 30. If the two swords were successfully combined, the new Wind of Regrets and Cloud Movement would directly rank in the top 3 on the list of spirit swords. Unfortunately, the Cloud Movement sword was already so broken that only the hilt was left. Relevant experts had already appraised it, and it was impossible for it to be repaired. "I'm going." After gathering strength, the lady made her move and slashed the sword in front of her. The powerful sword light was accompanied by a violent gale that tore through the air in the shape of a crescent moon as it slashed forward, exploding with enormous energy. Mr. Liu, on the other hand, did not move at all. He faced the gale calmly. Just as Mr. Liu had said, he did not cast any spell to protect himself. His entire body was in a relaxed state, intending to receive the impact head-on with his physical body. Wherever the saber light passed, Mr. Liu's head was split open. Green blood flowed down the crack. At the same time, the Wind of Regret saber's tetanus effect was activated. Tiny whirlwinds invisible to the naked eye could be seen on the wound, which continued to damage the wound. This scene was truly frightening to the point of making one panic. After this blow, the lady put away her knife and couldn't help shuddering. It hurt just by looking at it. However, Mr. Liu did not make a single sound. About 2 seconds after the knife wound was formed, a green light surged out from the wound. The lady was astonished to find that the special effect of tetanus had disappeared, as if it had been purified by this green spirit light. At the same time, Mr. Liu's wound was rapidly healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it was now completely intact. "This is my spell of creation and rebirth." After the demonstration, Mr. Liu chuckled. He had absolute confidence in his spell of creation and rebirth. "I believe that the lady should be able to see through my true identity. But if you think that I'm just an ordinary tree demon, then you're gravely mistaken." The lady cupped her fists in a salute. "Please advise me, Mr. Liu. I am indeed a tree demon, but there are many types of tree demons. Although some tree demons specialize in offensive wood magic, the vast majority of tree demons specialize in binding and binding techniques, which can have a controlling effect in battle. My clan is even rarer, as we are born with extremely strong self-healing abilities and all kinds of healing wood spells." Mr. Liu chuckled. "Our clan also has a resounding nickname, Forest Fairies." The lady had an enlightened expression on her face. Although she didn't know much about it, she had indeed been intimidated and felt that there was something unusual about this Mr. Liu. President Bai withdrew the black umbrella's barrier, and the small umbrella floated above his head again. "How about it, lady? Can we continue our discussion?" The lady nodded, her face full of smiles. "Of course." Mr. Liu glanced at his phone and said, "I've already ordered someone to transfer 50,000 immortal gold bars to the account you've provided, lady. Please check it. Then, according to our agreement, I will first go meet the person you mentioned on President Bai's behalf. But before that, I would like to ask you to share with us the information we need." At this point, both sides had shown their sincerity to each other, and the lady was naturally very generous. With a wave of her hand, a jade scroll appeared in her hand. This was the information that Immortal Castle had investigated. She presented the jade scroll with both hands, and Mr. Lu directly stretched out a vine to grab it. He then said teasingly, "Everyone says that Mo Immortal Castle's information is 100% accurate, I wonder if it's true or not." The lady gave a very fake commercial smile. If it wasn't for the fact that the information is 100% accurate, how could President Bai and Mr. Lu have found us? Mr. Lu was just joking, lady, no need to take it to heart. President Bai waved his hand. Several elders of the Demon Hunters Association have been secretly looking for that green-furred dog for a long time, but haven't been able to find it. Your information has been a great help. As for the person you mentioned, I will definitely get rid of him. Bai Zhe, never boast. I just hope that after this cooperation, the Demon Hunters Association and Mo Immortal Castle will have a deeper cooperation. The lady understood a little. As a veteran who had come into contact with all kinds of bigwigs, she already had a lot of experience. President Bai's words instantly enlightened her. She knew that the Demon Hunters Association wanted to rely on its formidable strength as a foundation in exchange for information resources with Mo Immortal Castle. To put it bluntly, Mo Immortal Castle was acting as a hired thug. This was a moment of life and death for Mo Immortal Castle, of course. The lady was very happy at these words, and she immediately nodded repeatedly. Of course. I hope Mo Immortal Castle and the Demon Hunters Association can work well together. That's good. President Bai nodded, and then motioned for Mr. Lu next to him to open the information scroll. Come on, take a look at the information. Let's see where on earth that green-furred dog is. As Mr. Lu looked at the scroll, the lady of the castle explained, based on the coordinates at which Elder Kanglan and Elder Han disappeared, which President Bai provided earlier, our Mo Immortal Castle finally used some methods to detect the residue of the two men at the construction site, and concluded that the green-furred dog had probably used something very similar to corpse powder. Corpse powder that can dissolve a soul formation cultivator? Mr. Lu was a little surprised. The lady nodded. When we first found out, we also found it hard to believe. There's actually corpse powder in this world that can instantly dissolve a soul formation cultivator, but it was the unique smell left behind by this corpse powder that ultimately led us to the green-furred dog's trail. Listening to the lady's explanation, President Bai and Mr. Lu continued to read the information on the scroll. At the end of the information was a map. It was marked with the location of Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's family villa. Meanwhile, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal and Little Silver were eating stir-fried broccoli in the villa. At the dining table, Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal stared at a pot of broccoli, his eyes shining. Little Silver picked up a broccoli and looked at it. He had heard Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal say that this broccoli was a hint from old Senior Wang to comprehend Heavenly Tao. However, he had already been eating it for almost a week, and hadn't discovered anything profound about it. Little Silver was a little doubtful. Is it really useful for comprehending Heavenly Tao? Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was convinced. Of course. If you and I eat it for a few more years, we'll definitely comprehend it. Little Silver, all right. Spirit light flashed in Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's hand, and a bib appeared in it, which he gave to Little Silver. Wear it well, it wouldn't be good if your saliva dripped when you eat it. I had Brother Ling enlighten me on this bib. It's very resistant to corrosion. Your saliva is too terrifying, it can even dissolve a soul formation cultivator. Little Silver couldn't help roaring, that's phlegm. It's phlegm. Chapter 468. For Immortal Toya, this wasn't a loss at all. It was just a branch in Songhai City. At most, it was the same price as one of his alchemy furnaces. At worst, he could just buy one less new model next month. Who asked Ling Jinren to have such tastes? In any case, as long as he could save face in front of his two disciples, Immortal Toya felt that everything was negotiable. Wang Ling hadn't expected Immortal Toya to give him a branch, which made him feel a little excited. After giving him the annual VIP card, there was finally a new way to give him a gift, directly to the shop. As expected, alchemists were a bunch of rich and overbearing people. Immortal Toya went upstairs, followed closely by Jin Shi and Yin Shi with relaxed expressions on their faces. When he had boasted downstairs just now that he was evenly matched with Wang Ling, these two little things weren't nervous anymore, but he had been a little embarrassed. When they reached Wang Ling's bedroom, Immortal Toya raised his hands and pushed them in front of him. "This is Senior Ling. It's your first time meeting him, so come and greet him." "Hello, Senior Ling." Jin Shi and Yin Shi nodded, and the two siblings stood on either side of Wang Ling and bowed to him. Wang Ling nodded. Jin Shi and Yin Shi were very polite, which was what they had been taught since they were young. Even if they had any thoughts, they wouldn't show it. Besides, their hearts were very clean, and they didn't have any thoughts at all. Right now, Jin Shi and Yin Shi were just curious about the things around them. After all, their living environment would definitely be different after they officially entered the city from the relatively closed environment of Chrysanthemum Island. Wang Ling could quite understand why Immortal Toya wanted the two siblings to adapt to the environment ahead of time. When he heard Wang Ling's reply, even if it was just one word, Immortal Toya's heart blossomed with joy. Senior Ling personally giving a reply, this was such a rare opportunity. This was Jin Shi and Yin Shi's first time meeting Senior Ling, and they actually received a reply. As expected of his disciples, they were indeed promising talents. "You two wait for me at the door." Immortal Toya smiled gently at Jin Shi and Yin Shi. "Yes, Shifu." Jin Shi and Yin Shi looked at each other, then obediently stood side by side at the door. To tell the truth, these two children were really very likable. Then, he raised his eyebrows and took out 2 packets of crispy noodle snacks from the drawer. He went straight to the door of the room and handed them to the siblings. He had specially enchanted this crispy noodle snack. Thanks to Immortal Toya's special training, Jin Shi and Yin Shi's broken spirit roots had been repaired very well, and they had reached the foundation establishment stage at just 13 years old. But the potential of their spirit roots definitely hadn't been fully developed yet. Compared with the ones for Little Silver, these 2 packets of crispy noodle snacks were more suitable for Jin Shi and Yin Shi to eat, and would help them develop their potential. When Jin Shi and Yin Shi took the crispy noodle snacks, they felt that this Senior Ling's grip was a little too strong, and they had to tug several times before they finally got the crispy noodle snacks. Jin Shi and Yin Shi, "Thank you, Senior." Immortal Toya was directly startled when Wang Ling gave it to him, and his mouth dropped open with a flattered expression on his face. "Senior Ling, why are you giving me such a big gift?" Wang Ling waved his hand lightly. Fang Xing had given him these crispy noodle snacks last time, and he hadn't had time to finish them yet. There were only 2 packets left. Wang Ling felt that it wasn't easy for 2 children to visit his house, so there was no need for him to be so stingy. He wasn't stingy at all. It was just that when he handed over the crispy noodle snacks, his hands trembled a little. This was a normal reaction. He had struck it big this time. Sure enough, bringing Jin Shi and Yin Shi to Senior Ling had been the right choice. Immortal Toya sighed with emotion in his heart, and he couldn't help rubbing Jin Shi and Yin Shi's heads excitedly. "The 2 of you are really born with good fortune. I'm proud of you." Jin Shi and Yin Shi tilted their heads, completely unable to understand why their Shifu was so excited. It was just 2 packets of snacks. Closing the door, Immortal Toya began to give the girl in gray a full physical examination. Ah, what a beautiful girl. The moment he saw her, Immortal Toya sighed with emotion. To be honest, Immortal Toya found it a little hard to believe that this girl had actually been rescued from an alien planet, and in the belly of a Kuin at that. Those extinct prehistoric vicious beasts were actually still alive. Immortal Toya took a deep breath, then took out his secret medicine. He had his own unique method of diagnosis and treatment. Generally speaking, when someone came to him for a checkup, he had to make sure that there was no one in the room before he did it. But now that he was facing Wang Ling, it didn't matter. Senior Ling's realm was so profound that he wouldn't think much of this secret technique of his. Little Silver and Dog 2 moved aside. Immortal Toya had met Dog 2 and Little Silver before, and had also heard that they were now Senior Ling's contract beasts. But today was Immortal Toya's first time seeing Little Silver in human form. To be honest, if he hadn't seen Little Silver's original form, he would have really thought that Little Silver was a girl. Calming his thoughts, Immortal Toya carefully pinched the tube of reagent, then took out a drop of medicine and dripped it on the girl. In the end, before the drop of medicine could fall, it was blocked by the glow of the girl's gray Daoist robe. This isn't a simple robe. Immortal Toya said. This tube of potion was a special liquid vaporized by him. It was non-toxic, harmless, and perfectly safe. Every cultivator had spiritual energy in their body, and the function of this tube of potion was to draw out the spiritual energy adhered to the cultivator's skin and transform it into different colors to determine the cultivator's identity. If the girl's lethargy stemmed from some kind of poison, the color of the spirit chi would change to dark black or dark purple. Generally speaking, there were two conditions that could cause a cultivator to fall into a coma. The first was a poison that wouldn't be life-threatening. As long as the cultivator's vital signs were stable, they could sleep like a vegetable. The second condition was a primary form of lethargy, which required Immortal Toya to take the girl to the island for further testing. Brother Little Silver, Brother Dog, can either of you help me open this girl's collar a little? Immortal Toya said. We can't. Only Master can touch her clothes. Little Silver shook his head. Saying this, he tried to reach out to touch the girl in gray. In the end, the gray robe really did emit a strong glow, which formed a resistance that blocked Little Silver's hand, and he couldn't get close at all. Loopy Toad was weaker than Little Silver to begin with, so it also couldn't touch her. Wang Ling sighed. This time, he really had to do it himself. Just as Wang Ling was about to open the girl's collar, Mother Wang came in with several glasses of broccoli juice. Little Dong, have some juice. Little Lei delivered the broccoli last night, it's very fresh. Wang Ling, Immortal Toya, Little Silver and Dog 2, Mother Wang smiled at everyone with the juice, then took 2 steps back and closed the door. Chapter 469. For some reason, when Loopy Toad saw this data, it felt that these skills were a little unreliable. First of all, the names were very strange. Will this work? What kind of spirit technique has this kind of name? Loopy Toad was too lazy to type, and directly pressed the voice button to chat. Little Silver immediately replied, I made up the names of the spirit techniques, they weren't originally called this. These spirit techniques were originally from a holy beast of the dog clan. I've read their scrolls, but I can't remember the specific names. I only remember how to use them, so just make do with them. Loopy Toad couldn't help scratching its head as it felt its scalp tingle. Is there anything with a normal name? Yes. Little Silver very quickly sent a new set, and then wrote a note at the bottom of the file. This is a complete set of fish techniques. After all, it's an advanced level 5 spirit technique. If you can learn it, you can beat 100 people at once. A level 5 spirit technique. Loopy Toad felt that at its current level, it still wasn't at the level where it could learn a level 5 spirit technique. To use a level 5 spirit technique, it would need to reach first class at the very least. Given its current progress, however, it would still take a long time for it to reach first class. However, it wasn't a problem to understand the structure of a spirit technique in advance. It was like a mathematical formula. you might not be able to solve the problem before you learned more advanced mathematics, but you could still memorize the formula. Thinking this, Loopy Toad opened the second set of data that Little Silver had sent. As Little Silver had said, the name of the second set of techniques was very normal. But because they were both using voice chat, Loopy Toad noticed that the fist techniques that Little Silver was talking about were actually dog techniques. This was a combination fist technique with 7 forms in total. From Basic Dog Technique 1, Basic Dog Technique 2, Basic Dog Technique 3, all the way to Basic Dog Technique 7. In any case, compared with the spirit techniques that Little Silver had sent before, Loopy Toad felt that this combination dog technique was much more reliable. First, the name wasn't strange. Second, it was obvious that this was a proper spirit technique of the dog clan, so it could be learned. Seeing that Loopy Toad didn't reply for a long time after accepting the data, Little Silver couldn't help saying, "Let me tell you, this spirit technique is very difficult. When I stole it from Dog Saint's depository of Buddhist texts back then, it took me a long time to learn it. If you don't know, you can ask me. I can consider teaching you." Little Silver was very pleased with himself when he said this, because Loopy Toad had always bullied him. Now that he had finally found an opportunity to fight back, Little Silver certainly wouldn't miss it. Given Loopy Toad's comprehension ability as a former Demon King, it actually wasn't difficult for it to grasp a level 3 or 4 cultivation technique. But from the 4th level to the 5th level, that was a step. The difference in difficulty was like the difference between junior high school mathematics and advanced university mathematics. Under normal circumstances, without guidance, it would take a very long time to learn by oneself. And the most important point was that when Little Silver had secretly learned them, he had been looking at the original copy of this, Basic Dog Skills, and the diagrams on it were extremely detailed. What Loopy Toad had now was information that it had compiled from its own memory, so it might have overlooked some of the important points. This undoubtedly made it very difficult for Loopy Toad to study. Making a comeback would definitely not be as detailed as the original. For example, Wang Ling's 8 classes of divine weapons was a good example. Some of the artifacts that were originally on the market couldn't be found at all. "You want to teach me?" Loopy Toad asked when it heard Little Silver's smug inquiry. Little Silver felt like he had something on Loopy Toad, and he was overjoyed. That's right, that's right. If you have anything to ask, ask me. I'll think about it. Let me tell you, after Dog Saint was captured and turned into a pot of dog meat back then, the holy beasts of the dog clan were all wiped out, so currently, I'm the only one who knows how to use these dog skills. Loopy Toad was startled. Was Dog Saint that miserable? Little Silver sighed. Like I said, it seems that I'm the only holy beast left in the world now. Holy beasts may be powerful, but they take a long time to grow. I've been living like a coward for 8,000 years. 8,000 years. That's why I have the ability to protect myself now. Loopy Toad, thinking back, Dog Saint was indeed miserable back then. Back then, someone spread a rumor that the heart of a holy beast could help people comprehend heavenly Tao, heal hidden injuries and so on, which triggered a catastrophe in our holy beast circle. As far as I know, Dog Saint's dog clan was the first to suffer. Speaking up to this point, Little Silver couldn't help feeling a trace of sadness on his face as he spoke in a very resentful tone. Loopy Toad was very curious. Why? Don't you holy beasts all have your own territory? The territory Loopy Toad was talking about wasn't just a simple territory, but a secret realm similar to a small world. In order to protect their own clans, the leaders of holy beasts had the ability to open up their own secret realms for their clans to survive. You're asking me why? Speaking up to this point, Little Silver sighed again. Who told Dog Saint to pee wherever he wanted? Loopy Toad, Little Silver. Take Dog Saint, for example. When this guy sees a pole, he can't help peeing in it. When he sees a pole, he can't help peeing in it. In the end, those cultivators who went to search for holy beasts relied on peeing to find him. They broke the entrance to the secret land he set up and directly captured him alive. They directly beat him back to his original form, burned his Taoist temple, captured his dog clan. Finally, they stewed him in front of the entire dog clan. Loopy Toad, how do you know so much? Little Silver, because I was hiding in the dog clan's depository of Buddhist texts at the time. Loopy Toad, didn't you try to save him? Little Silver, what could I do when that group of people broke in? I was very weak at the time. If I had run out, I would have most likely been stewed as well. Those cultivators were really too savage, and each and every one of them was at the almighty level. Dog Saint was just unlucky. If only one or two of them had broken in, he would have been able to deal with them. The problem was that the pea attracted too many people. Hearing this, Loopy Toad couldn't help sighing. It really wasn't easy for you to live until now, that's right. I've always thought how great it would be if I had a holy beast companion. Little Silver said, Dog Saint's incident actually happened a long time ago, but I still remember it. Loopy Toad sent a voice reply, after experiencing something like that, no one would ever forget it. Little Silver shook his head. No. The main thing is that when that group of people stewed Dog Saint, the spicy condiments they used were really fragrant. I could smell it even from hiding in the depository of Buddhist texts. Loopy Toad, after saying this, Little Silver chuckled. So, after saying so much, do you want me to teach you the dog skills? Loopy Toad, no need, I can ask my Wong Ling. Chapter 470. Isn't Master busy with his midterm exams? How can you trouble him? For some reason, when Little Silver said these words, he felt rather powerless. Sure enough, it was great to be able to live with Master. He could even consult him on some bizarre spirit techniques and spells. Although Dog Saint had been stewed and all the holy beasts of the dog clan had been wiped out, Little Silver didn't doubt Wong Ling's teaching ability in the slightest. Spellmasters were a new and popular profession in the cultivation circle, and their role was to answer all kinds of questions people had when learning spells or melee spirit techniques. They didn't necessarily know the spells or spirit techniques themselves, but they could often analyze the main points based on theoretical knowledge, thereby greatly reducing the time it took for people to learn a spell or melee spirit technique. It was like a lot of swimming coaches who taught children how to swim. Many of them actually didn't know how to swim. After all, they taught children swimming in shallow water, and in any case, no one would drown. Little Silver's heart crumbled a little, and at the same time, he was a little envious as he felt very conflicted. Sure enough, it was always better to come first, but when on earth would he be able to sign the contract? Little Silver had actually been beating around the bush with Wong Ling before about signing the contract. He had carefully thought that if Master didn't want to sign the contract at all, he wouldn't have let Little Silver live here at all and let grenade throwing take care of him. Grenade throwing was probably Master's best friend. All of a sudden, Little Silver was very worried that Wong Ling would despise him. Why not ask Loopy Toad to ask Wong Ling on his behalf when on Earth they would be able to finalize the contract? Little Silver was a little conflicted and couldn't help sighing in his heart. In the end, it was still his turn to beg Loopy Toad, "Hey, brother dog, are you still there?" He didn't send a voice message, but directly typed it and sent it through the chat window. He then clicked on the shake window in passing. Loopy Toad. In front of the screen, Loopy Toad couldn't help smiling. Normally, when someone switched from voice to text in an instant, it was obvious that they had something important to say. Loopy Toad, do you need something from me again? Loopy Toad remembered that Little Silver had done this several times before when he had come looking for it. After sending the message in the shaking window, it immediately started to ask it about Wong Ling's life, such as his usual schedule, his various habits, his preferences, and so on. To be honest, after bathing in Little Silver's holy beast blood the last time, Loopy Toad's narcolepsy had indeed eased considerably. Although Little Master Ling had repaid the favor with 20 crispy noodle snack packets, Wong Ling's debt was still tied. Actually, if Little Silver really did come to it for help, Loopy Toad felt that it definitely wouldn't refuse. However, it wasn't very kind of him to casually divulge information about his young master. Loopy Toad thought that it was a very loyal dog. It was a dog that would never betray its master. There was no way it would betray Wong Ling. Unless he stepped over its body, the steel plate toad. That was indeed what Loopy Toad had been thinking before it received Little Silver's red transfer. Little Silver typed very slowly and carefully, as if he had been thinking for a long time before plucking up the courage to send the message. I want to ask Brother Dog to help me ask when on Earth Master will sign a contract with me. Actually, he felt that asking Little Silver directly like this wasn't very good, and Master might even resent it. But whether it was a spirit beast or a holy beast, once they recognized their master, only the guarantee of a contract could give them a sense of security. Loopy Toad remembered that Wong Ling had mentioned signing a contract with Little Silver at home before. But it just so happened that it was time for the midterm exams recently, so the contract had been put on hold. In fact, Loopy Toad knew that Wong Ling hadn't forgotten about it. After this busy period, it would form a contract with Little Silver sooner or later. There was only one holy beast in the world now. Out of consideration for the protection of this rare animal, Loopy Toad felt that Wong Ling wouldn't forget about the contract. But Little Master Ling was only 16 years old, after all. For a child at this age, there was nothing more important than studying. Loopy Toad felt that there was probably no one in the world who could fight Little Master Ling head-on, but there was only one thing that could fight Little Master Ling, and even have a chance to defeat him, and that was exams. Small boss midterm exams, big boss final exams, it couldn't get any more real. Loopy Toad stared at the screen and thought for a while, then simply typed, "Little Silver, do you think I look like a dog that betrays its master?" When Loopy Toad typed this string of words, Little Silver almost spat out a mouthful of holy blood. Little Silver couldn't help marveling at how thick the skin on Loopy Toad's green dog face was to be able to say something like this. Little Silver couldn't help sending Zhuge Liang's "I've never seen such a shameless person" emoji. However, he crossed out the word person and changed it to dog. Little Silver couldn't help straightening up on the sofa. His silver hair fell over his shoulders, and he even threw the broccoli pillow in his hands aside in anger. He typed indignantly, "Don't you know whether or not a certain dog accepted a red packet last time?" But while he typed, Little Silver didn't dare directly send it, and instead pressed the back button one after another to completely delete the words. After all, the only bridge he had to master now was actually Loopy Toad. If this bridge collapsed, he might never be able to cross it again. No, he had to endure it. Twitching the corner of his mouth, Little Silver sent Loopy Toad a red packet of 2000 HNY. 2000 HNY for one question was the rule that Loopy Toad had set last time. Just take it as spending money to avert disaster. Little Silver actually understood this point quite well. In any case, the money wasn't his, it was grenade-throwing Senior Immortal who had given him his pocket money. After confirming that it had received the red packet, Loopy Toad couldn't help nodding its head and sending a thumbs up in return. "You're smart, brother Little Silver. I didn't expect you to still remember the 2000 HNY target I set for you last time." In fact, Loopy Toad had casually asked for 2000 HNY last time, but it hadn't expected Little Silver to actually give it to him. But to be honest, Loopy Toad had actually lived in human society for so long, and it had eaten and drank at the Wong family's small villa. It didn't have any income, let alone any savings. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had given Little Silver his pocket money. In comparison, Loopy Toad didn't have any money at all. Little Master Ling was thrifty by nature. Apart from crispy noodle snacks, he basically didn't have any other expenses. So when Loopy Toad saw the transfer of 2000 HNY, it couldn't help sighing. I was going to charge you less this time. Hearing this, Little Silver almost couldn't help coughing up blood. Then give it back. Loopy Toad, no, no, no. I've already accepted it, there's no reason to return it. I'll remember this, I'll tell my little master. Chapter 471. The money wasn't Little Silver's, and he actually didn't feel bad about spending it at all. Furthermore, he actually didn't have any concept of currency in human society, but he felt that a mere 2000 HNY was probably just a fraction. Little Silver felt that it wouldn't be a loss if he could exchange this spare change for information on Master. In fact, Little Silver didn't know that for a 16-year-old high school student who usually scrimped to buy snacks and whose dad docked his allowance for all sorts of reasons all day long, this amount of money was simply a huge sum of money for his master. Loopy Toad looked at the savings in its electronic wallet. Including what it had scanned Little Silver the last time and after deducting the amount it had given to Daoist Guang previously, it now had a huge sum of almost 10,000 HNY. By the way, how much did Senior Immortal give you? Loopy Toad was very curious. He bound me to his electronic wallet in another account. He said that I could use the money in it. Little Silver took a screenshot and sent it to Loopy Toad. Loopy Toad was stupefied when it saw it. It started with 1 and was followed by a total of 6 digits. This was basically hooking up with a domineering CEO. It was true that cultivators were very rich, but not every cultivator was so rich, except for second-generation rich kids like Lin Xiaozong. For the most part, even people of the same age as Wang Ling in Foundation Establishment High School would be taught the correct concept of money by their parents at a very young age. It was very important to learn how to manage money. Only by establishing a good concept of money from a young age would you understand how difficult it was to make money. So while Wang Ling usually seemed stingy, he actually couldn't be blamed entirely. In Loopy Toad's eyes, this was much better than those rich kids who squandered their parents' money everywhere. But to be honest, the money in Little Silver's electronic wallet was probably just a fraction to grenade-throwing Senior Immortal. Loopy Toad remembered that when it had bought Daoist Guang that high-tech smart computer for the elderly, it had cost several 100,000 HNY in total, almost 1 million HNY. In the end, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had bought it without batting an eye. It was very clear that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal wasn't short of money. The cultivation forum run by grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was now flourishing with each passing day. Every day, there would be people breaking gossip about the cultivation world, which directly attracted a lot of traffic from onlookers. In the current cultivation era, the internet economy was also an important part of development, and traffic meant advertising. All these years, grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had amassed a fortune just by collecting advertising fees from cultivation dating apps and various magic treasure shops. Needless to say, this perfected monarch would occasionally play the role of a great death-courting senior, and take on missions to help the weak. Now that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had that infinite resurrection ring, Loopy Toad felt that grenade-throwing Senior Immortal could act even more unscrupulously. Little Silver stretched out his hand and took out a wooden comb. Combing his messy silver hair with one hand, he sent a voice message. "Remember to tell Master for me. Don't forget." "Don't worry, I'm definitely reliable." Loopy Toad replied. "I'll study the basic dog skills you sent me later. The first and second forms are both level 4, so I can learn them." Little Silver hadn't expected Loopy Toad to be so hard-working, and couldn't help sking. But at the same time, he thought of another question and couldn't help asking, "By the way, what on earth do you want money for?" "Grenade throwing gave me so much money, but I don't know how to use it." "What else?" "To have fun," Loopy Toad answered very bluntly. "To have fun." "Little Silver, what do you mean?" Loopy Toad was sure that Little Silver also didn't understand what this so-called fun meant, and didn't bother to explain. It felt that holy beasts were actually pretty boring. As the only holy beast in the world who had lived an ignoble existence for 8,000 years, it had only just come into contact with human society and didn't understand its beauty at all. People who died without money to spend, people who were alive without money to spend, and people who were alive without money to spend, these were the three situations that Loopy Toad found pretty hard to bear. Loopy Toad said, "You have to find your own fun, don't just stay at home all day." Little Silver, I had a phone at home before, but playing with it was pretty boring. Loopy Toad, if you're bored, cultivate with the crispy noodle snacks that Little Masterling gave you. Don't waste time. What did you say? Little Silver was startled, and his expression was as stunned as if he had been struck by lightning. This thing can really cultivate. Loopy Toad's reply to this was one sentence: "Don't waste God's gift recklessly, Little Silver." "I'll try it when I get back." Loopy Toad nodded. As a senior who had mingled in human society for a long time, before it went offline, it couldn't help advising Little Silver earnestly, "The outside world is rich and colorful, you have to learn to go out more. By the way, apart from Senior Immortal's villa and our little master's house, have you been anywhere else?" Little Silver thought for a moment. "The neighborhood near the villa, Loopy Toad, and Little Silver, the police station. I even got to know a police officer." Loopy Toad sent a fist salute emoji. "Goodbye." Before Little Silver could finish speaking, he noticed that Loopy Toad's profile picture had already turned gray. Looking at its posture, it had probably gone to cultivate. Then Little Silver had to work hard. If it hadn't been for Loopy Toad's reminder, Little Silver really wouldn't have thought that a cheap snack like crispy noodle snacks could actually be used for cultivation. But when all was said and done, these 20 crispy noodle snack packets had been taken from Master, so they should indeed be useful. No wonder grenade-throwing Senior Immortal had looked so ferocious for one crispy noodle snack packet. Now that Little Silver thought about it carefully, it didn't seem unreasonable. But speaking of cultivation, it seemed that he had something to tell Loopy Toad just now, but the words had been in his throat when Loopy Toad had interrupted him. What on earth had he wanted to say? It seemed to be about the side effects of cultivating the basic dog skills. There were some tricks to cultivating these dog skills, and you couldn't cultivate them completely according to the instructions. Although Little Silver had copied them, he had discovered a loophole when he had studied this spirit technique back then, and had improved it as he had studied it. Thus, this set of dog skills wasn't a problem for Little Silver, but it would be a little troublesome if Loopy Toad went astray. But Little Silver couldn't quite remember what this side effect was. This was what he had wanted to say just now. As for the side effects of cultivating the basic dog skills, Little Silver stared at the screen and crossed his arms in deep thought for a while. 3 seconds later, he gave up. Chapter 472. Loopy Toad had already made copies of all the information Little Silver had given it. Nowadays, many cultivation arts and spirit techniques were no longer recorded in the form of jade tubes or scrolls. Admittedly, jade tubes and scrolls had very high collection value. It was true that jade tubes and scrolls had very high collectible value, but for modern cultivators, it was naturally much more convenient to transfer data on cultivation arts and spirit techniques through a computer than scrolls and jade tubes. This included Huashu Nation's largest depository of Buddhist texts, Magnificent Immortal's depository of Buddhist texts. All the cultivation art scrolls collected inside had data backups, but ordinary people couldn't get their hands on these data backups, as they were classified information at the national level. There were now a lot of shops selling cultivation arts and spirit techniques on the internet. If you chose the skill you wanted to buy and directly paid for it online, the merchant would transfer it to the cloud through a file-sharing software called Skill Cloud. However, only the buyer could receive and open the file, and it couldn't be shared a second time. If you wanted to share it, you had to buy another copy and share it as a gift. Nowadays, copyright was very important when committing crimes, and cultivators' cultivation arts and spirit techniques were no exception. These so-called cultivation arts and spirit techniques were all created by cultivators, apart from Heavenly Tao. Hence, online shops selling cultivation arts and spirit techniques would now contact the creator of the cultivation arts and spirit techniques to buy the copyright or sign a profit-sharing agreement. If you bought the copyright, you would have to pay a huge sum of money in one go, and the subsequent profits from the sale of the cultivation arts and spirit techniques would belong to the copyright holder. Of course, the purchase of the copyright wasn't permanent, and was usually for 10 years. The other was a profit-sharing agreement, which was a one-sided agreement between the creator of the cultivation arts and spirit techniques to share the copyright, and then split the profits 50-50 to achieve a win-win situation. The vast majority of cultivators would choose the second option. Of course, if it was a famous master, not only could they directly sell the copyright to the skill, they could even enjoy the subsequent profit-sharing benefits. To put it bluntly, this had a lot to do with the popularity of the creator of the cultivation arts and spirit techniques. Of course, there were some cultivation arts and spirit techniques that couldn't find an owner, and the copyrights to these skills would all belong to the state. Furthermore, the copyrights to these famous masters and spirit techniques were currently stored in Magnificent Immortal's depository of Buddhist texts and wouldn't be sold publicly. It was July 13th on Thursday in the 12th week of the semester. Father Wang wasn't at home today. Supposedly, he had gone to the EL department with Lai Mengmeng. The computer in the study happened to be empty, so Loopy Toad used Father Wang's computer to browse online. After backing up the information that Little Silver had transferred to it, Loopy Toad specially browsed skill shops to check if there was any information on the sale of the basic dog skills. In the end, the comprehensive search bar showed 0, not a single one. This was a normal situation, which just showed how long this set of dog skills had a long history. After all, it had been passed down from Dog Saints era, when holy beasts hadn't been completely destroyed and Little Silver had still been very young. The history of the basic dog skills was perhaps comparable to that of the 10 founding generals, or even much older than that group of people. Loopy Toad flipped through the information on the basic dog skills through its electronic browser, which it had only skimmed through on its phone before. There were 7 forms of dog skills in total, but the first and second forms were level 4. Loopy Toad felt that it could try to learn them with its own efforts. Loopy Toad felt that relying on Little Master Ling for everything was a pretty spineless act. After carefully reading the instructions in the information, Loopy Toad tried to circulate spirit energy through its meridians according to the instructions. In the end, it came to the conclusion that it could completely learn the first form of the basic dog skills on its own. But starting from the second form, the dog skills were indeed more difficult. Loopy Toad would have to carefully ponder over them even if they were level 4 spirit techniques. Loopy Toad cupped its chin and its hands as it pondered. Actually, at this time, it would be best if someone gave it some pointers. While it was thinking this, Loopy Toad saw a pop-up advertisement pop up in the online skills shop it was browsing. Loopy Toad stretched out its hand to close the pop-up, but in the end, it saw that it said, "Still troubled by learning cultivation arts and spirit techniques? Well-known grandmasters, online allies, personal guidance. Any spirit technique is guaranteed to be taught." This was the spellmaster that Loopy Toad had mentioned before, an emerging profession that specialized in teaching others cultivation arts and spirit techniques in a short period of time for profit. Actually, Loopy Toad had only heard of it before, but had never personally encountered it. Now that it saw this pop-up advertisement, it was instantly a little curious. Loopy Toad clicked on the ad, and the link directly jumped to the window of an online shop. System prompt: "Welcome to a Salted Fish Skills Shop. Customer service number 018 will be at your service." Loopy Toad waited for a while, and the customer service little sister sent a smiley face. "Hello, how should I address you?" "Loopy Toad, my surname is Tu." Customer service number 018. Sir or Madam. Loopy Toad, I'm a dog, the domestic kind. Customer service number 018. Doing her best to compose herself, this customer service number 018 specially checked the credit history of Loopy Toad's account. When she found that its personal credit rating was excellent and had reached the level of a triple crown, she instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the seller's credit rating, this probably wasn't a prank. Customer service number 018 realized that at that moment, the person sitting on the other side of her computer might really be a dog. Furthermore, this actually wasn't anything to be surprised about. Nowadays, domestic spirit beasts were all intelligent, but there were actually very few who knew how to operate a computer. But the truth was that Loopy Toad's credit record wasn't that high, because this computer belonged to Father Wong. Loopy Toad only realized that it had forgotten to switch accounts after the customer service little sister's first message. But it didn't matter. In any case, it was just asking, and wasn't planning to buy anything. On the other side, the customer service little sister had already composed herself and replied with a smile, "May I ask what Mr. Dog 2 needs?" Seeing this form of address, it was Loopy Toad's turn to suck in a breath. "I want to ask if your spellmasters can teach spirit beast skills." Customer service number 018 nodded. "Of course. Our spellmasters are very well-rounded, and some of them have experience as spirit beast trainers. However, our spellmasters quote prices based on the difficulty of the skill. As long as Mr. Dog 2 accepts the price, we'll definitely be able to teach you." Loopy Toad, I see. In fact, Loopy Toad already suspected this shop of false advertising, because in this world, there were no spells that could be taught 100%. But Loopy Toad still thought this was very interesting, and replied, "Do you have any recommended spellmasters? Want to chat?" Customer service number 018, "Alright, please wait a moment, Mr. Dog 2, I'll help you switch to the spellmaster chat window." About a minute later, a system prompt appeared again. "Technician number 003 is ready to serve you." Loopy Toad. What freaking technician? Chapter 473. This was Loopy Toad's first time coming into contact with an online skill shop, and it couldn't help being dazed when it saw the system prompt. How had a spellmaster become a technician? But when Loopy Toad thought about it carefully, it realized that there was nothing wrong with this title. After all, a spellmaster had another name, skill master, or technician for short. Technician 003 was very enthusiastic. "Hello, Mr. Dog 2, what kind of art or spirit technique would you like to consult?" Loopy Toad was curious. You can teach spirit beast skills?" Technician 003 was blank for a moment before he replied, Don't worry, sir, I have a lot of experience as a pet trainer, I can teach you." The technician recalled his experience since entering this online shop and said, "Our online shop actually also has skill books for spirit beasts. Someone has bought them for their spirit beasts before." But this was the first time a spirit beast had personally operated a computer to go shopping in an online shop to buy something. Loopy Toad, what's the process? Technician 003 replied, "It's like this, there are two ways. One is for you to spend a certain amount in our online shop, and we'll give you technician teaching services as a complimentary gift. The other is for you to provide relevant information on the skill, and we'll evaluate the skill based on its class and difficulty." When Technician 003 said this, Loopy Toad wasn't in a hurry to reply. Instead, it opened the online shop and carefully looked at the skill scrolls on sale. Most of the skill scrolls sold online were level 1 to level 2. There were very few level 3 scrolls, and level 4 scrolls could basically be considered the treasures of the shop. Furthermore, they were sky-high prices. A full 500,000 immortal gold bars. Converted into HNY, that was over 100 million. This was no less than the average market price of a 9th-class holy weapon. Loopy Toad couldn't help skiing when it saw this, and then asked, "What about confidentiality?" Technician 003, currently, the country has a specialized spellmaster platform. If Mr. Dog 2 is able to provide the skill book, we'll contact you on the spellmaster platform. Once we've appraised the skill book's difficulty and determined the price, you can come to our online shop to bid for the tuition fee. Don't worry, Mr. Dog 2, only the two of us can see the skill book, and it can't be copied or forwarded. You can rest assured about confidentiality. Nowadays, there are a lot of lawsuits for copyright infringement. As long as it's a legitimate platform and a legitimate spellmaster, they will pay more attention to this issue. No one will make things difficult for themselves, right? Moreover, the infringement fee for this skill book is very high. Loopy Toad nodded and felt that what this technician 003 said seemed to make sense. At this time, technician 003 sent a link. Mr. Second, if you think it's okay, please click on the link to this spellmaster platform. Let's talk about it. Loopy Toad quickly replied, No, I still don't think it's reliable. My spirit technique is very difficult. The technician on the other side was obviously stunned and did not reply for a long time. It was true that spirit beasts had spiritual intelligence, but there were actually very few who could learn to operate a computer on their own. Considering this, the technician felt that Loopy Toad's grade wasn't low. Mr. Dog 2, may I ask what grade it is now? Loopy Toad replied in a low voice, 3rd class. Actually, he had already reached rank 2 a long time ago. Technician 003 already had an idea. Alright, Mr. Buttface. I can guarantee you that I can teach you the skills of rank 1 to rank 3 spirit beasts, no matter if it's from our shop or if you provide it. Rank 4 skills are charged based on their difficulty. Even if I don't know them, I can recommend my Shifu to you. Also, I strongly recommend the rare rank 3 spirit technique in our Salted Fish Skills shop, Salted Fish Stab. This is a skill that our shop owner personally designed for spirit beasts, and it's very useful. Loopy Toad, in this day and age, had the names of new spiritual techniques and spells become so random. Loopy Toad had thought that Little Silver's Spirit Dog Skin 9000 Kicks and Dog Voice Lotus Sitting were already casual enough. Who would have thought that the names in this shop were getting more and more casual? Loopy Toad couldn't help complaining, the names of your skills don't sound good. Technician 003 sent a shrug emoji. It's fine as long as they're useful and practical. In the past, those spirit techniques and spells with nice names actually weren't that powerful when they were actually used. He explained patiently, and what's the most important thing? The quality of modern cultivators was getting better and better. They wouldn't deliberately shout out the name of their skill before using it. In the past, the older generation of cultivators wanted to save face, so they designed the names of the spiritual techniques and spells that they created to be very awesome. But now, reality tells us that it's useless. Loopy Toad actually felt that Technician 003's words made sense. Nowadays, there was basically no longer the wisdom of deliberately shouting out the names of your spells before a battle. This was a completely unnecessary behavior. If it was Little Master Ling, it would be even simpler and cruder. Because Little Master Ling didn't need to use any skills at all. If it wasn't a slap, it was a fist. Technician 003, excuse me. Mr. Buttface, what do you think? Loopy Toad replied, it's like this. It's not that I don't want to buy it, it's that I don't think you can teach me. My spirit technique is a close-range fish technique, and only the first 2 forms are level 4, the rest are all level 5. Seeing Loopy Toad's reply, Technician 003's heart was suddenly in turmoil. Level 5. As a spellmaster, he was very sensitive to the levels of cultivation arts and spirit techniques. It went without saying how valuable a level 5 skill was, but the most precious treasure of their shop was only a level 4 one. For things like cultivation arts and spirit technique books, the difference in value between level 1 and level 2 wasn't particularly large, but from level 3 onwards, each increase in level was like a whole new world. A level 5 spirit beast spirit technique. Technician 003 knew very well that he really couldn't teach it. Technician 003 broke out in a sweat. Mr. Buttface, I indeed can't teach you level 5, but I think my Shifu might be able to. Just follow the link I sent you just now and enter the number 704620442 into the Spellmaster ID search bar. Loopy Toad replied very politely, "All right, thank you." Technician 003 was a little unresigned. "Then does Mr. Buttface not like any of the skills in our shop?" Loopy Toad, "No. The names of the skills in your shop are too strange. There's Inging Strike and Gay Stare." Technician 003, Loopy Toad, "All right. You don't have to be too sad. I didn't want to buy it in the first place. I was just asking." Behind the screen, Technician 003 slammed the keyboard, F***K. On the other side, Loopy Toad curiously opened the Spellmaster platform and typed in the ID that Technician 003 had given it, 704620442. Then, a Spellmaster's profile ID popped up. And Loopy Toad actually knew this person. Wei Ji. Chapter 474. Loopy Toad rubbed its eyes and confirmed that this was indeed Wei Ji's avatar. He was a sunny pretty boy who looked a little childish. He wasn't tall, could withstand electricity, had strong resistance to beatings, moved in a flirtatious manner, and gave off a very reliable vibe. These were Loopy Toad's first impressions of Wei Ji. Loopy Toad remembered that they hadn't contacted each other since a few days ago when they had gone deep into the heart of the Demon Hunters Association and exposed their plot to engage in illegal spirit beast trading. In order to ensure its own safety, Loopy Toad had been hiding in Audiobook's backpack after his group had arrived, while Wei Ji had been directly treated as the first witness to cooperate with Audiobook's follow-up investigation and report the Demon Hunters Association. After that, the exposure of the Demon Hunters Association's underground trading practices had come to light. It actually wasn't just the government department that Audiobook represented, but also the official pet trainers guild that Wei Ji represented. If there was no trade, there was no killing. Loopy Toad still remembered the scene it had seen that day when it had walked through the Demon Hunters Association's trading street. The captured spirit beasts had struggled and roared in their cages as they had been abused and beaten. A lot of them had even been on the verge of death because they had resisted with all their might, and had been drugged before being directly skinned alive by those inhumane members of the Demon Hunters Association, because the skin skinned alive was softer than when it was skinned dead. Loopy Toad had been in a hurry to leave at the time, so it hadn't left Wei Ji's contact information. Loopy Toad also hadn't thought of contacting him, because it was sure that Wei Ji would be very busy at this time. After all, Wei Ji was representing the Pet Trainers Guild and cooperating with the police to sweep up suspected Demon Hunters Association organizations across the country and crack down on illegal spirit beast trading. The Pet Trainers Guild's philosophy was to promote harmonious coexistence between people and spirit beasts. Although pet trainers and spirit beasts had a contractual relationship, Loopy Toad could actually tell from Wei Ji's pushing large butterfly. In fact, Wei Ji's attitude towards spirit beasts was more like that of his own friends. It wasn't just Wei Ji, for all pet trainers, pet hunter organizations like the Demon Hunters Association were completely unforgivable. Of course, even if Loopy Toad hadn't left Wei Ji's contact information, he still had a peaked cap. Furthermore, Loopy Toad had been to Wei Ji's staff apartment, so it could look for him directly if it wanted to. In fact, the time interval was not very long. It was less than a week. Actually, it was only about 5 days. In the last 5 days, Loopy Toad had paid special attention to the news. The Demon Hunters Association organizations in various places have been exposed one after another, and their members have been arrested one after another, but they still hadn't found any leads on their leader, President Bai. Actually, as one of the informants, Loopy Toad felt that Wei Ji's situation was actually quite dangerous. To be able to run such a large organization and draw in so many members with schemes and plans, the leader behind it was clearly a ruthless character with a high realm and a brain. And the most critical point was that none of the so-called core members of the Demon Hunters Association who had been arrested, like Strong Zhua and his gang, knew what President Bai looked like. They didn't even know his specific voice. After Zhua analyzed the matter, the so-called core members of the Demon Hunters Association weren't actually core members at all. The core members of Immortal Mansion were all soul formation cultivators. For a golden core cultivator like Strong Zhua to be able to become a core elder, in fact, if one thought about it carefully, it really wasn't that scientific. So Zhua and Warden Liang's judgment was that this so-called core member was in fact a scapegoat for the real core members of the Demon Hunters Association. Even Zhua himself had been taken aback when he had analyzed the situation back then. He was very sensitive to the word scapegoat. Loopy Toad stayed on the Spellmaster platform for a while before it finally opened the private chat box and typed, "Are you there? Is pushing large butterfly okay?" At the same time, Wei Ji saw the private chat window pop up and couldn't help frowning. Someone had suddenly popped up and even knew that he was carrying his most treasured pet with him. Wei Ji thought hard for a bit, and his expression immediately turned nervous. That could only be the case. The worst-case scenario. It was also the last thing he wanted to see. Wei Ji stared at the chat window and his forehead started to sweat as he gritted his teeth and typed, "Dream on. I won't give in. Loopy Toad." Wei Ji snorted. What Loopy Toad had said just now had completely emboldened him. "You're President Bai of the Demon Hunters Association, right? Let me tell you. I was the one who exposed the Demon Hunters Association that you meticulously set up. Let me tell you, I, Wei Ji, don't have much else, but I have backbone. The Pet Trainers Guild that I represent will never bow to any evil force. Don't even think about using my pushing large butterfly to threaten me." Loopy Toad was already stupefied as it stared at the words on the screen. "Wei Ji, why aren't you saying anything? If you, President Bai, have the ability, feel free to fire at my pushing large butterfly. Go ahead and fire. Don't look down on me. I, Wei Ji, will still be its owner in the future." Loopy Toad couldn't help but slap its paws loudly at this wonderful performance. Sometimes, having too many imaginative emperors around you was really troublesome. "Bro, we haven't seen each other for 5 days, and you've already become mentally weak?" Loopy Toad typed, "It was one of your little disciples, Technician 003 of Salted Fish Skills Shop, who recommended me." Seeing this, Wei Ji heaved a sigh of relief and reacted. Because a few minutes ago, one of his disciples had indeed complained to him about a strange customer from the skills shop. The customer was a dog, and when he entered the shop, he didn't buy anything and just came to chat. This had taken up a lot of time. At that time, Wei Ji had actually wondered if that dog was Loopy Toad. After all, given Wei Ji's limited knowledge, there weren't many spirit dogs with such high IQ, and even fewer knew how to operate a computer. The reason why many spirit beasts could understand humans was because of the establishment of the spirit beast contract, which formed a spiritual connection between the spirit beast and its master. In fact, most spirit beasts couldn't read Chinese characters unless they cultivated to the stage where they could take human form, let alone learn pinyin and type on a computer. "Your brother dog." Wei Ji still didn't dare believe it when he typed this line. When his little disciple 003 had called to complain to him previously, Wei Ji had thought it might just be a coincidence. After all, there were all kinds of strange things in the online world. But now that he knew that it was Loopy Toad on the other side of the screen, Wei Ji still felt the power of fate. Chapter 475. After meeting Loopy Toad at the appraisal center and experiencing so many things, Wei Ji felt that the fate between him and Loopy Toad wasn't shallow. But for them to run into each other online seemed a little metaphysical. Wei Ji couldn't help but sigh. He directly typed a string of words in the private chat window on the platform. Online marriage is linked by a single thread. It's fate that we met. Loopy Toad stared at these words, feeling like it had heard them somewhere before. It was startled. You're also watching Lord Island's live stream. Loopy Toad was very careful when it typed, and it made a clear distinction between the nickname Lord Island and the Daoist name Daoist Guang. Since most people didn't know Lord Island's true identity, Loopy Toad naturally wouldn't reveal it. That's right, didn't Lord Island say these lines before? This Lord Island is amazing. Newbie streamer, you broke 1 million viewers in less than a week. Wei Ji said in the chat window. Loopy Toad hadn't expected Daoist Guang's live stream to be watched by so many people. At first glance, it seemed like everyone around them was watching. But Loopy Toad realized that Wei Ji and it actually had a lot to talk about. It didn't know if it was because Wei Ji often interacted with spirit beasts, but Loopy Toad always felt that Wei Ji was very approachable. One of the most important criteria for making friends was to be able to converse well. So if Loopy Toad had to think about it, of its 3 friends now, one was Dopigua, one was Little Silver and the last was Wei Ji. Dopigua was a good friend who selflessly provided her with dog food. Little Silver was inexperienced and of the same kind that Wang Ling could tease. Wei Ji was someone who had already gone on an adventure with him. It could be said that they had a common topic, and the most crucial point. This person was Dopigua's legendary uncle. This uncle was obviously not his biological uncle, but he was one of Dopigua's many uncles. For Loopy Toad, Dopigua's uncle was no less mysterious than grenade-throwing senior Immortal's friend Little Black, who ran a secret laboratory on the border, or Immortal Jin Yuan, whose name it had only heard of but never seen. As for Wang Ling, the reason why Loopy Toad hadn't added Little Master Ling to its circle of friends was even simpler. Little Master would always be Little Master. This was something that must be distinguished. Friends were for sharing their hearts, while young masters were for hugging their legs. Loopy Toad had thought this through thoroughly. Since when did you become a master spellcaster and accept disciples? Aren't you a pet trainer? Loopy Toad asked after exchanging greetings for a while. This is a side job. There are also differences among spellmasters. Pet trainers like us, who are very familiar with spirit beasts' habits, will often take on the role of spellmasters who specialize in teaching spirit beast skills. Wei Ji replied, also, you've come to my house to take a look. Just based on my house's high-tech ecological environment. Do you think it's free? Moreover, there were still a few rooms that had not been optimized yet. They would have to spend money later on. Just the monthly electricity bill alone is a huge sum. Loopy Toad was startled. Isn't your family pretty rich? Wei Ji, I am a person with dreams, Loopy Toad, Wei Ji said, don't look at me like this. I can at least live on my own with the money I earned. However, I still have so many little fellows here. Not only the pushing large butterfly, but I also have to take care of the other spirit beasts that have signed a contract with me. The electricity bill is just a small amount. Think about it, I have to pay a huge sum just for food expenses. I set a goal for myself every year to sign a contract with at least 2 spirit beasts. At the beginning of this year, I signed a spirit python called Big Snake One, which really eats. So for the second half of this year, I signed a contract with a pushing large butterfly. Do you know why? Loopy Toad, why? Wei Ji, because it eats less. Loopy Toad, If things went on like this, Weiji felt that he would soon be so poor that he would have to change from raising spirit beasts to raising insects, although spirit insects themselves were classified as spirit beasts. Compared with those big spirit beasts, those tiny spirit insects were in fact unpresentable to many pet trainers. Of course, there were also very large spirit insects, but Weiji's current problem was the high cost of food. Big spirit beasts ate a lot, and their appetite might not be any less than his big snake one. Since he had chosen to sign contracts with spirit beasts and one day become the #1 pet trainer, Weiji felt that he should be responsible for the spirit beasts he had signed. So you're doing these side jobs to make money? Loopy Toad hadn't expected Weiji to actually be short of money. That's right, which is why I'm doing multiple jobs now. My main job is a pet trainer, but I'm also a spellmaster when it comes to spirit beasts, and I specialize in guiding other people's spirit beasts in their cultivation skills. Weiji sighed and typed bitterly, sometimes, I'll even become a substitute leveler, substitute training. I help other people's spirit beasts take them out to cultivate and bring them back after they advance a level. Weiji said. This is the fastest way to make money. But it's also the least. Professional pet trainers like us can only rely on this way to make money because our realms aren't very high, so food expenses have always been a big problem. Actually, as the former 10th generation clan leader of the Sky-Swallowing Toad clan, Loopy Toad had a deep understanding of why spirit beasts could eat so much. Back then, the entire Toad clan had to consume hundreds of millions of tons of flies in a day's supply of food. Furthermore, these flies were different from those in the human world. They were all big demon flies, and one demon fly could be as big as an elephant. Cultivators paid particular attention to fasting, and the higher a cultivator's realm, the less food they ate. Spirit beasts, on the other hand, actually ate a lot. Why did Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal put so much money in Little Silver's electronic wallet? In fact, most of it was for Little Silver's meals and takeout. In comparison, Loopy Toad suddenly realized that its appetite was also quite small, and was about the same as that of an ordinary domestic spirit dog. Who knew if this was because it cultivated Little Masterling's modified version of the Demon King Heart Sutra? Brother dog, do you really want to learn a level 5 spirit technique from the shop my little disciple works in? Weiji asked. Loopy Toad typed on the keyboard. Oh, no. I don't have a level 5 spirit technique, I just wanted to tease him. That's what I said. Weiji nodded. Given Loopy Toad's personality, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. However, Weiji couldn't help sighing as he replied, high-level beast techniques nowadays are too rare. A level 5 spirit beast technique scroll, with copyright and commission, can buy 2 apartments in the inner circle of Jinghua first year. The only level 5 technique scroll I've ever seen in my life is a spirit beast transformation spell, which is a little similar to a cultivator's demon transformation spell. The difference is that this spell can even imitate an aura. Oh. Loopy Toad sked. There's such a thing. Didn't my disciple recommend their shop singing strike to you before? Actually, this close combat spirit technique is a set with the spirit beast demon transformation spell I was talking about just now, and they both came from a person called Crying Old Immortal. And this person is the vice president of our Pet Trainers Association, Weiji said. Loopy Toad nodded. I see, then what's the name of this spirit beast demon transformation spell? I'll go and find out later. Weiji, it's called 100 Changes Littling. Chapter 476. Weiji and Loopy Toad chatted online for a long time that day. After about an hour or so, Weiji remembered that they hadn't added each other as friends on the chat app on his phone. They had been chatting since the private chat box on the website. Weiji now had a total of 17 contractual spirit beasts under him. Apart from the pushing large butterfly, there were 9 small and medium-sized spirit beasts, while the remaining 7 were big. The pressure on him was huge. He had to rely purely on the prize money he had won from participating in various spirit beast competitions arranged by the Pet Trainers Guild, as well as his part-time job as a spellmaster for spirit beasts. However, all this money added up was barely enough to cover his food expenses. On the other hand, he also had to buy his monthly electricity bill and his own physical strength supplies. In the pet trainer profession, unlike those sage-like cultivators who pursued the realm of not eating 5 grains, training a spirit beast consumed a lot of physical strength and energy. After Loopy Toad and Weiji added each other as friends on the chat app, Weiji swiftly sent Loopy Toad a group photo of the Pet Trainers Guild which he belonged to. In the photo, Weiji stood at the very front of the group. Weiji wasn't tall and had fair and clean looks, so Loopy Toad recognized him at a glance. But he didn't understand what on earth Weiji meant by this photo. "Do you see him?" Weiji asked. Loopy Toad nodded. I see you." "Weiji, not me, it's the man in leather clothes and sunglasses in the middle of the first row." Loopy Toad followed Weiji's directions and found the person he was talking about. This person's attire was actually quite unique and modern, and he didn't look like a cultivator at all. In an era where everyone was a cultivator, it actually wasn't strange to see someone wearing ancient clothes on the street. But generally speaking, bigwigs like General E would wear military uniforms in public, and the rest of the time in their daily lives, they would also wear ancient attire. Of course, Loopy Toad felt that this might be a little ambiguous. After all, its little Master Ling wore a school uniform. Loopy Toad stared at this man in skin. "Who is this?" Weiji sighed and said, "He's the crying old immortal I told you about, the vice president of our Pet Trainers Guild. You see, his head is already bald." "Loopy Toad, it really isn't easy in our line of work. Too tiring. Although most pet trainers enjoy it, it's really physically and mentally exhausting. We're now in an era of peace and there aren't many fights between cultivators. Compared with the consumption of our line of work, those delivery people seem a little too relaxed." Although every profession had its own difficulties, what Weiji said was not wrong. In the era of national cultivation, basic spells like the sword control technique had long been popularized. As long as one knew how to ride a sword, it was actually quite easy to do jobs like delivering packages and food deliveries. More importantly, the salary in this industry was actually very high. Weiji sighed and typed in a plaintive tone, "See. Our vice president, crying immortal, is here. It's because I signed too many contractual spiritual beasts when I was young that I couldn't keep up with my nutrition. I went bald." Loopy Toad, Weiji felt a wave of bitterness in his heart when he said that. He thought of the meme pack of Grandpa Ma Dongmei that was very popular on the internet. The old grandpa said with a smile, "Actually, I don't think pet trainers are under much pressure." The caption on the side of the meme pack was, "A certain 28-year-old professional pet trainer in Songhai City." To put it bluntly, a lot of baldness was actually related to pressure. Everyone had pressure, take Loopy Toad for example. Apart from little Master Ling, who was preparing for the midterm exams, the person under the most pressure was Father Wang. Web novelists couldn't stop updating for a day, and they also had to deal with trolls and anti-fans. Naturally, they were under a lot of pressure. Even though the comprehensive quality of the readers is getting higher and higher. But there were still some special cases. For example, Father Wang's colleague, a teacher who wrote a historical novel, Yamashita Rising Water, had been cursed and urged to update by trolls because of a fire in his house. Loopy Toad felt that this was very uncultured behavior. Seriously, they weren't even as good as it, a dog. Over the years, Father Wang's update rate had increased, and his pressure had also increased. His hair would often fall out when he showered. The combination of pressure and age would cause the hairline to recede and the top of his head to go bald. By the time he noticed this, forget Overlord shampoo, even one-piece Haushiku Hockey shampoo was already useless. Of course, perhaps Father Wong didn't need to worry about baldness. When it came to hair growth, he just had to touch it casually, and the grass would directly turn into a forest. This was much more convenient than a live streamer called Sun Yalong spending a huge sum of money on a hair transplant. When there was pressure, it was natural to release it. Because Loopy Toad had been cultivating the inheritance talisman recently, it was actually under a lot of internal mental pressure from the power of Sword Dao. Although Loopy Toad only dared to absorb a little at a time, it was very clear that if it wanted to smoothly inherit the power of Sword Dao of the 10-meter sword circle in the inheritance talisman that little Master Ling had given it, a proper balance between work and rest was very important. Thinking this, Loopy Toad directly typed a string of words to Wei Ji. "Bro, let's meet up later. Let's go out and relieve some stress." On the other side of the screen, Wei Ji's eyes suddenly lit up. It was July 15th on Saturday in the 12th week of the semester. Teacher Pan's Dao talismans and math classes had already been cancelled at school yesterday on Friday. Wang Ling felt that his grades for these two subjects were pretty good. He had already predicted the questions and had made ample preparations. It shouldn't be a problem to control the scores until they reached the class average. On Monday, it was Old Antiques Theory of History and Politics classes. The teachers of these two subjects especially liked to jump on the bandwagon. Wang Ling felt that the recent Immortal Mansion incident and the Demon Hunters Association incident would be discussed as topics, and would even come up with a series of topics. Even so, the scope was a little too wide. Who knew what kind of ideas the teachers of these two subjects would come up with? So Wang Ling felt that there was no point in thinking about it. He could only act according to the circumstances during the exams. He hadn't forgotten about signing a contract with Little Silver. In fact, when Little Silver had come all the way to deliver his blood the last time, Wang Ling had wanted to sign the contract. But after all, Little Silver had just given his blood back then, so Wang Ling hadn't been in a hurry. Whether it was a spirit beast or a holy beast, they had to be in a completely healthy state before signing a contract. This was because the process of signing a spirit beast, holy beast, contract would consume a lot of the spirit beast's own spirit energy. Wang Ling knew that Loopy Toad and Little Silver had added each other as friends online, and it seemed that they were chatting pretty well. Just as he was about to ask Loopy Toad about Little Silver, he turned his head and realized that Loopy Toad wasn't at home. Wang Ling looked up at the time. It was only 9:30 in the morning. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.